Chapter 1159. Your Majesty, the facts are right before our eyes. We have caught the thief and the stolen goods. This northern Shi is a thief crying thief. It was clearly him who hid the item, but he wrongly accused West Shu of stealing his treasure. Your Majesty, please issue a decree to arrest him and punish him. The leader of the Imperial Guards stepped forward and spoke in a clear voice. He raised his head and puffed out his chest. The indignation on his face had been swept away. He only felt elated, and his chest was unspeakably free. These past few days, they had all felt extremely sullen. The arrogant appearance of the Northern Shi envoy after losing the item had made all of the Imperial Guards angry. But the item had indeed been lost in West Shu, and the thief was indeed from West Shu. All of the Northern Shi people in the guest house looked at them as if they were thieves, making them unable to raise their heads. Now that the Empress had come, the truth had come to light. So was the Northern Shi envoy, who was a thief, crying thief, and throwing dirty water on the West Shu people. It was truly a heinous crime. Your Majesty, please issue a decree to punish him. All of the Imperial Guards said in unison, their voices shaking the roof tiles. The Northern Shi people outside the door were all ashamed. They dejectedly lowered their heads, not daring to say a word. Mo Chuan's face was as dark as water. His black eyes were deep and bottomless as he coldly stared at the Northern Shi envoy. When the Northern Shi envoy's gaze met his entire body trembled. His legs went soft, and his face became pale and terrified. Your Majesty, please believe me. This matter really has nothing to do with me. Your Majesty, Her Majesty the Empress, please be magnanimous and forgive this envoy's previous crime of rudeness. This envoy begs for forgiveness. Please prove this envoy's innocence. All of his arrogance disappeared. He suddenly became much shorter. He almost knelt in front of Mo Chuan and Chun Ning to beg. Right now, he was like a drowning dog, battered and exhausted. Chun Ning gave a slight smile and said, Sir Envoy, there is no need to panic. I never said it was you who was a thief, crying thief, and stealing what you were guarding. The Northern Shi envoy felt his face burn as if someone had slapped him. Thinking of his previous rudeness, he was too ashamed to raise his head. Your Majesty, my words offended you, but this matter was not done by me. How could there be a hidden compartment in the box? I had no idea. He felt that even if he had 100 mouths, he would not be able to explain himself. This matter was already set in stone. Aside from him, there was no one else. He was the one who had lost the map, but they had been found in his room. The evidence was conclusive. For the first time, he felt what it was like to be wrongly accused. The evidence is clear, yet you still want. If not you, then who? Your Majesty, please punish him and arrest him. The Imperial Guards were aggressive, and they all glared at the Northern Shi envoys. Mo Chuan slowly nodded. Anger rose in his chest as he stared coldly at the Northern Shi envoy. The other party was actually so cunning, using the name of selling blueprints to contact him, but actually doing such a despicable and dirty thing. If he dared to do it, he would have to take responsibility for it. Even if he beheaded him in public, the Northern Shi Emperor would not be able to say a word. Come, arrest him, Mo Chuan said coldly. Hearing this, the strength in the Northern Shi envoy's body disappeared. He fell to the ground and collapsed into a ball. Chapter 1160. Just as the Imperial Guards surrounded the Northern Shi envoys, Chun Ning suddenly raised her hand and raised her voice to say, Sir Envoy, I didn't say you stole the blueprint. I believe you. You really didn't know about the hidden compartment in the box. What? Everyone's eyes immediately turned to look at Chun Ning. The Imperial Guards' faces were filled with confusion and bewilderment. Even Mo Chuan's eyes became unfathomable. The Northern Shi envoy's eyes lit up. He had already lost all hope, but Chun Ning's words were like a drowning man suddenly finding a rope to save his life. He didn't hesitate to grab onto it. Really? Empress, do you believe my words? His eyes were filled with tears as he looked at Chun Ning with gratitude in his eyes. At this moment, he really wanted to kneel down and kowtow to her. Mo Chuan couldn't help but turn to look at Chen Ning. He asked in a puzzled voice, "Ninger, what do you mean? Do you really believe him? He didn't hide the blueprint on purpose?" Now that the facts were right in front of them and all the evidence pointed to the Northern Qi envoy, Chen Ning spoke up for him. Even though Mo Chuan thought he understood Chen Ning, he couldn't guess what she was thinking. "I believe him," Chen Ning said in a confident tone. From the moment she entered the door, she had been observing the Northern Qi envoy's expression. She didn't miss a single detail. From his arrogance at the beginning, to his surprise when he found the blueprint, to his panic when he was accused, it was all very real. There was no trace of it being fake. If he wanted to lie to her, it would be impossible for him to hide it from her sharp eyes. Mo Chuan frowned and looked deeply at Chen Ning. He had thought that Chen Ning finding the hidden compartment in the box would prove that this matter had nothing to do with West Chu and that it was all the Northern Qi envoy's doing. But now she was actually speaking up for the Northern Qi envoy. Could it be that she had guessed who really wanted to steal the blueprint? "Ning, I want to know why this blueprint appeared in the hidden compartment in the box. Who is the real thief? Is that black-clothed masked man real or fake?" He asked in a deep voice. In reality, he found that she already had a plan for finding the blueprint in the box. This girl was keeping him in suspense again. Chen Ning combed her hair and gave him an apologetic smile. "You have too many questions. I'll answer them one at a time. And Mo Chuan, I'm not keeping you in suspense. I'm just not sure if I can find the blueprint in the envoy's room. I'm just making a simple guess. If someone really broke into the post house that night and drugged everyone, and if there really was a black-clothed and masked thief, then when they caught him, they found the sleeping incense on his body, and the blueprint was indeed stolen. However, they couldn't find the blueprint on the thief's body, and there was nothing in the honorable envoy's room either. In that case, could the blueprint have disappeared without a trace? Mo Qian, Qi envoy, and Chuan. This is obviously impossible because he was discovered as soon as he left the room. He didn't have the chance to move the stolen goods. If that's the case, where would the blueprint be? Her eyes were sparkling, and her voice was crisp and sweet. Everyone was attracted by her words and thought, "Yes, where could this blueprint be?" Chapter 1161. Although everyone already knew the answer, they still couldn't help but widen their eyes and stare at her without blinking. Actually, this is a very simple question. Every corner of the room has been searched, but there is only one place that hasn't been searched, and that is the box with the blueprint. It is also the only place where he could have hidden the blueprint, so he brought a thin partition and sealed the blueprint under it. Then he covered it with satin. When the honorable envoy opened the box, the first thing he saw was that the blueprint had disappeared. Everyone thought that the blueprint had been stolen, but in reality, the blueprint was still in the box and hadn't been taken out of the room. After Chen Ning finished speaking, everyone let out sounds of realization. "So it's like this." But the Northern Qi envoy's forehead was dripping with sweat, and he couldn't help wiping it off with his sleeve. The Empress' words, word by word, were still pushing him into a pit. Even after hearing these words, he felt that this matter had something to do with him. But why would the thief do this? His goal wasn't to steal the blueprint, but to create the illusion that the blueprint had been stolen, right? Mo Chuan went straight to the point, his cold gaze sweeping over the Northern Qi envoy. The Northern Qi envoy didn't dare raise his head under his gaze. He didn't do it, but he couldn't defend himself. The thief's intentions are indeed thought-provoking. His goal might be the blueprint, or it might not be the blueprint, because after the blueprint was stolen, this matter would definitely cause a huge uproar, and the entire city would be investigated. He was worried that the blueprint would be found if he brought it back to his side, so he left it in a safe place. And what is the safest place? Naturally, it's something that no one would have thought of, and that's this golden box. When a matter has passed, and the thieves can't be caught, and the blueprint is nowhere to be found, the honorable envoy naturally won't keep this useless box. It's very likely that he'll throw it aside. When that time comes, he'll retrieve this box and take out the blueprint that's hidden in the middle of the box. Wouldn't that be without anyone knowing? As soon as Chen Ning's voice fell, there was a wave of praise from all around. Mo Chuan looked at her with a warm and admiring gaze, his heart filled with admiration. This girl really was smart. Such a complicated scheme, such a deep scheme, but she seemed to have seen it with her own eyes. She described it in detail, and it was incomparably clear. Then doesn't that mean the person who stole the blueprint is already on the verge of revealing himself? Mo Chuan said coldly, his gaze falling upon the Northern Qi envoy. The Northern Qi envoy's back was completely soaked in cold sweat. He opened his mouth, but found that he couldn't say a single word. Ning shook her head and said, "It's not that obvious, but it's even more confusing. However, this matter can prove that the theft of the blueprint is indeed unrelated to this esteemed envoy." Hearing this, the Northern Qi envoy looked at Ning with gratitude, and this time, he was speechless. At a time when everyone was wrongly accusing him, there was someone who stood out to clear his name and prove his innocence. He was willing to lay down his life for that person and die 100 times without regrets. Mo Chuan slightly knit his brows. He looked at her and said, "Why are you so sure?" Chapter 1162. There's a saying that a negative is a positive. If I assume that there really is a thief, and if he really came to steal the blueprint, and if I don't find the blueprint in the hidden compartment, then it means that the honorable envoy is a thief crying thief, stealing what he is guarding. But if all the assumptions are established, then there is only one result, and that is that the honorable envoy is not lying. He really doesn't know that the blueprint is hidden in the compartment of the box. If I explain it like this, can you understand? Ning's clear and bright eyes stared at Mo Chuan. They were clear and bright and very intelligent. This reasoning already touched upon the deeper principles of logic. It was a bit difficult for Mo Chuan and the others, who had never come into contact with logic, to accept it. Of course, this was only one of the reasons why she came to this conclusion. The other reason was that, through micro-observation, she found that the Northern Qi envoy was not lying. Everyone was confused hearing this, and their brains couldn't wrap around it. What was a negative is a positive. What was a hypothesis established? Was the Empress talking about the Book of Heaven? Although they couldn't understand, they all believed Ning's words without a doubt. They admired her intelligence to the point of prostrating themselves, so no one questioned her. Mo Chuan looked at Ning, and his originally stern face revealed a faint smile. It was like the ice had melted, making people feel like they were bathing in the spring wind. He reached out his hand and lovingly rubbed her hair. In a soft voice, he said, "I don't understand, but I believe you." The Imperial Guards saw the faint smile on Mo Chuan's face, and they were so shocked that they couldn't believe their eyes. The serious emperor in their eyes, who never smiled, could actually have such a gentle moment. He could actually smile, especially when the emperor could use such a gentle tone to speak. They had never seen or heard of it before. Ning's white, jade-like cheeks turned slightly red. She didn't think that Mo Chuan would reveal such a tender and sweet expression to her in front of everyone. His gentle eyes were like water, making her drown in them. She awkwardly cleared her throat and looked away, looking at the Northern Qi envoy. "Honorable envoy, since the blueprint has been found, can we continue with the deal between our two countries?" This. The Northern Qi envoy's expression was filled with hesitation. His heart had just fallen back into his stomach, but he tightly gripped the blueprint in his hand. His heart was already beating a retreat. This theft had scared him to the point that 3 out of 7 souls had disappeared. It was all because of the blueprint. Now, it was proven that the person who stole the blueprint was someone else, and this person was without a doubt a West Chu citizen. Perhaps he was sent by the young emperor in front of him, so he didn't want to sell the blueprint to a thief. Ning looked at his expression and already guessed his thoughts. Chapter 1163. Ning's words were neither servile nor overbearing. There was a hint of threat and temptation, but in the ears of the Northern Qi envoy, not only did it not sound harsh, it actually felt indescribably comfortable. His heart was filled with mixed feelings. He couldn't describe what he felt towards Ning. There was admiration, gratitude, and surprise. This empress might be young, but her words were convincing. Her words were all pointed at his weak points, making him unable to even say a no. The Empress has cleared this envoy's name. This envoy is very grateful. No matter what the Empress says, this envoy will not disobey. Emperor, we can proceed with this transaction now. The Northern Shi envoy thought for a bit, then respectfully presented the blueprint to Mo Chuan with both hands. Mo Chuan was slightly surprised. He didn't think that the Northern Shi envoy would agree so readily. Sir, I do not have any silver on me. We can continue the transaction tomorrow. He left the palace in a hurry, and, as the emperor, he could not have any silver on him. And this was a large sum that needed to be paid for by the national treasury. It's fine, it's fine. This blueprint can be given to the emperor first. As for the silver, the emperor can send someone to deliver it. I believe in the emperor and the empress. The Northern Shi envoy spoke very generously, handing over the blueprint in his hand a few more inches. He was beginning to feel that this blueprint had become a hot potato. If he continued to keep it by his side, there was no telling what would happen next time. If the blueprint was lost and he did not receive the silver for the transaction, how would he have the face to return to Northern Shi and report to the emperor? So, it was better to give this blueprint away as soon as possible. Based on the empress' ability to clear his name, she would not take the blueprint and not pay. Mo Chuan smiled and took the blueprint. He said, "Then I will accept it. As for the silver, I will have the Minister of Revenue send it to the embassy. Please accept it when the time comes." The Northern Shi envoy seemed to let out a long sigh of relief. He revealed a smile and bowed to Mo Chuan and Chunning again. "I thank the emperor and the empress." The arrogant and despotic air on his face was swept away, and he became very humble and courteous. If the imperial guards had not seen it with their own eyes, they would not have believed it. The Northern Shi envoy was grateful to Chunning from the bottom of his heart. With all the evidence pointing at him and all the odds against him, she did not mind his rudeness toward her. On the contrary, she had helped him clear his name. This kindness was worth his life to repay. Otherwise, if he did not complete the emperor's mission on this trip to West Chu and was accused of embezzlement, even if Mo Chuan did not punish him, once he returned, the emperor of Northern Shi would definitely chop off his head. Mo Chuan took the blueprint and put it in his chest. He held Chunning's hand and said, "Let us go." He swept his gaze across the surroundings and ordered, "Imperial guards continue to stand guard around the post house. Do not leave without permission. Protect everyone in the post house. If anything happens, I will not let you off lightly. Thank you, Your Majesty, for thinking so deeply for me." The Northern Shi envoy was even more grateful. He was originally worried that he had given the blueprints to Mo Chuan. If the mastermind found out about it and sent people to infiltrate the guest station again, perhaps this time it wouldn't be just the blueprints, but his head. Chapter 1164. After Mo Chuan and Chunning left the guest house, they remained silent. On the way back to the palace, they did not say a word. Chunning did not say anything either. The two of them sat in the carriage, each thinking about their own matters. Mo Chuan took out the crossbow blueprints from his chest and carefully looked at them one by one. His face did not reveal much joy from obtaining the blueprints. Instead, his eyebrows furrowed even tighter. He had originally thought that if he found the blueprints in the box, then this matter could be proven to be the work of the Northern Shi emissary, a thief crying thief. But Chunning spoke with certainty, saying that this matter had nothing to do with the Northern Shi emissary and that he was wrongly accused. Like this, the person who sent people to steal the blueprints from the guest house became even more confused. And the two most suspicious people were the Minister of War, Li Zhixing, and King Ding Yuan, Chu Xiaoyang. No matter which one it was, he did not want to be the mastermind behind this incident. This quintuple crossbow, after it's made, can shoot 5 arrows at once. Chunning's eyes fell onto the blueprints in Mo Chuan's hands. She casually looked at them and asked thoughtfully, "Not bad. Ninger, you can actually understand weapon blueprints?" Mo Chuan was a little surprised. This kind of complicated blueprints, if one did not learn the art of forging, normal people would not be able to understand it. Even he had to find Li Zhixing for a few books on forging and cram for a few days before he could understand it. Ning gave a faint smile. She had indeed dabbled in these cold weapon blueprints before. Although she did not understand them, there were diagrams and written records of them in her memory palace. I know a thing or two, but this quintuple crossbow doesn't look that special. Is it that powerful to shoot 5 arrows at once? She thought back to the books she remembered about crossbows. The most famous one was the Zhuge crossbow. It was said that it was made by Zhuge Liang of the Three Kingdoms. It could shoot 10 arrows at once and had a very strong firepower. The weakness was that it was too big and too heavy, so a single person could not use it. Later on, there was a great inventor in the Wei Kingdom, Ma Jun, who improved the Zhuge crossbow. The improved crossbow was smaller and lighter, so it could be used by a single person. The most powerful part was that it could shoot 50 arrows at once, which had a very strong killing power. Unfortunately, the method to make it had been lost. Hearing Chun Ning's words, Mo Chuan's brows relaxed. He rubbed her hair and said with a smile, "Silly girl, this quintuple crossbow blueprint is priceless. East Qin and Southern Mountain are both eyeing it. A crossbow that can shoot 5 arrows at once. Don't you think it's powerful?" Chun Ning blinked and suddenly said, "I know of a crossbow that can shoot 10 arrows at once." Chun Ning blinked and suddenly said, "I know of a crossbow that can. It's that powerful?" He then nodded and said, I believe that there is someone in this world that has made a 10-chain crossbow. It should be Northern Shi, otherwise they would not sell the 5-chain crossbow blueprint. They have already made 10-chain crossbows, so naturally they would not care about the quintuple crossbow. But to our West Chu, this is a good weapon that we can only wish for. Chun Ning couldn't help rolling her eyes at him. She cleared her throat and said, Mo Chuan, I'm saying that I can draw a 10-chain crossbow blueprint. What did you say? Chapter 1165. Ninger, how could you know this? If you want to make me happy, you can use another method. Mo Chuan was stunned for a moment before revealing a smile. He pulled her into his embrace, lifted her chin, and kissed her on the lips. Chun Ning's face turned slightly red. She broke free from his embrace and said with a serious expression, Mo Chuan, I'm not joking with you. I'm serious. Let me see this blueprint. She took the 5 repeating crossbow blueprint from his hands and carefully looked over it, comparing it with the blueprint of the Zhuge repeating crossbow in her mind. She quickly found that this 5 repeating crossbow was small and light, making it very easy for a single person to use. Although the Zhuge repeating crossbow could shoot 10 arrows at once, its weakness was obvious. It was too heavy and needed 2 or even 3 people to use it. She couldn't help thinking that perhaps there was a way to combine the advantages of these 2 crossbows. She unknowingly became lost in thought. We're about to enter the palace. Ninger, who are you going to interrogate first? Li Zhixing or Chu Xiaoyang? Mo Chuan looked at the palace gates coming closer and closer, and his heart became heavy. One was his most valued minister, and the other was his blood-related nephew. But one of these 2 people had betrayed him. No matter who it was, he did not want to face them. But this mystery would soon be revealed. Chun Ning had just thought of a clue, but she didn't have time to think about it. Hearing this, she looked up and thought about it for a bit. Chu Xiaoyang. She quietly said this name without any fluctuations in her voice, just like she was talking about a stranger. Mo Chuan was a bit surprised, but he didn't say anything and just looked at her with a deep gaze. Relax, with me by your side. He definitely won't touch a single finger of yours. He firmly said, No, Mo Chuan, when I see him in a bit, I hope you won't be there. No. Mo Chuan immediately shook his head. If I'm not there, what if he hurts you? With his personality, he won't care. Mo Chuan, listen to me. Chun Ning placed her index finger on his lips. I'll act according to the situation. I won't let him hurt me. If you're there, his emotions will become unstable after seeing you, and it will affect my judgment. So, I have to see him alone. Believe me, I will protect myself. Did you forget the peacock tail you gave me? The little needles on it aren't something to be trifled with. If he dares to be rude to me, I'll let him have a taste of these needles. Mo Chuan still shook his head. No, Ninger, I can promise you anything, but I can't do this. Chu Xiaoyang's martial arts are very high, so if he suddenly attacks, you won't be able to react at all. Even if you have the peacock tail, it won't be foolproof, so I'm not assured. Chen Ning knew that he was worried about her, and her heart filled with warmth. With a faint smile, she said, "You're being this good to me. Is it because you want me to repay you with my body? And Mo Chuan, I've already married you, so I'm already yours. You don't need to say these kinds of sweet words to coax me." And Mo Chuan's heart filled with sweetness, but he pretended to be angry as he said, "Do you think I'm saying sweet words?" He grabbed her arms and pretended to be angry. Chen Ning giggled. "Lord husband, please calm your anger. This little girl won't dare speak nonsense anymore." Chapter 1166. Mo Chuan knew that although she was smiling, she would not change her mind once she made a decision. "All right, it's fine if you want to see him alone, but I have to stand guard outside the window. If you find anything wrong, immediately release the peacock tail. Do you understand?" He said in a serious voice. "I understand." She forcefully nodded. Chu Xiaoyang was placed under house arrest in a side palace outside the Cold Palace, which was located in the outer city of the royal palace. Although he was a relative of the royal family, he was still considered a foreign minister. He could not be summoned, so he could not stay in the inner city and could not enter the emperor's harem. When Mo Chuan and Chen Ning arrived at the side palace, the sky had already darkened. The light of dusk overlapped and covered the entire side palace. Once they stepped through the door, a cold and damp air hit them in the face. This side palace had not been inhabited for a long time, so it was empty and desolate. In a side room beside the main hall, there was a pea-sized lamp that reflected a slender figure on the paper window. Although the figure was blurred by the candlelight, Chen Ning could still recognize it with a single glance. That was Chu Xiaoyang. Her steps couldn't help stopping as she stood on the steps of the side palace. Looking at that blurry figure, she bit her lower lip. The last time she saw him was at her emperor's coronation. His gloomy eyes and lonely face seemed to appear in front of her again. That high-spirited and overflowing Chu Xiaoyang had disappeared. He had changed, becoming a stranger that she did not recognize. Chu Xiaoyang's figure did not move for a long time. It was like he had turned into a statue, silently standing in the room. Chen Ning did not move either. She suddenly felt her heart start to beat erratically, and her face instantly turned pale. She raised her hand to her chest, and her body slightly swayed. "What's wrong?" Mo Chuan supported her. Seeing her pale face, his heart filled with worry as he asked in a soft voice, "Are you uncomfortable anywhere?" Chen Ning closed her eyes and took a deep breath. Opening her eyes, she revealed a smile to Mo Chuan. "I'm fine." Her eyes looked at the layers of imperial guards outside the side palace before turning around. She walked down the steps and walked step by step towards the room Chu Xiaoyang was in. Mo Chuan tightly held her hand and felt her fingertips turn cold, gently trembling in his palm. His heart also began to fill with worry. Was the decision to let her see Chu Xiaoyang wrong? He suddenly wanted to regret it and stopped his steps. "Ninger, don't go in." Chen Ning looked back at him and saw the worry in his eyes. She slightly rolled her eyes and said with a smile, "He's not a tiger. Could he eat me? Just wait for me here. I'll go in myself. Just wait for me here. I'll go in myself." What kind of person Chu Xiaoyang was, he knew it better than her. When he went crazy, he was like a tiger coming down the mountain. If he hurt her, it would be too late for regrets. He suddenly felt a shiver and felt even more like he had made the wrong decision. He suddenly felt a chill run, and he realized Chu Xiaoyang's heart for her was very strong, and he was a headstrong person. His martial arts were very strong, and she didn't know any martial arts at all. Wasn't this sending her to the tiger's den? "This matter has nothing to do with you, so I can't let you take the risk for me. Even if there is a little bit of danger, I won't let you go in." "No, Mo Chuan, I want to go." Chapter 1167. The matters of the country are all people's responsibilities. Your matters are my matters. If I can't help you, how could I be worthy of being your wife? Chen Ning gave him a gentle smile and said in a soft voice, "Believe me, I will find the answer to this riddle." She slowly let go of his hand and walked into the room. Jia. At this time, the window of a room was suddenly pushed open and Chu Xiaoyang's figure appeared in front of the two of them. "Since you're here, why are you dawdling outside?" "Emperor, you've come in the middle of the night. Could it be because of the stolen blueprint?" "All right, I might as well tell the Emperor that it was Chu Xiaoyang who sent people to steal it. As for the blueprint, it has already been burned by me, completely burned away." Chu Xiaoyang looked at Imo Chuan outside the window with a cold expression. With just a single glance, his expression suddenly changed. He looked at Chen Ning in the yard in a daze, and his eyes were filled with disbelief. "Ning, I think I'm seeing Ning. Am I seeing things? Ning, is it really you? You came to see me?" He rubbed his eyes and muttered to himself. Just now in the room, he was silently standing there. There was no one else in his mind. There was only her. But he never thought that he would really see her. Wasn't this a dream? He couldn't help raising his brows as he stared at her. Chen Ning nodded at him. "It's me." She reached out and pushed the door open. She walked in without any hesitation and then turned to close the door. Chu Xiaoyang suddenly felt his heart beating wildly. His mouth was dry and his eyes lit up. He stared at her slender back as his hands tightly clenched in a fist by his side. "She's here. She really came. Emperor, your empress is here to see this minister. So why are you standing outside the window? Why don't you come in and sit?" He suddenly turned his head and looked at Imo Chuan from the corner of his eyes. His brows slightly jumped up as he looked at Imo Chuan with a provocative look. "Are you not afraid of a man and woman alone in a room and bad rumors will spread?" Imo Chuan coldly looked at him, not saying a word. His eyes were as sharp as ice, and Chu Xiaoyang felt a chill run down his back. He was pressured by his aura, and the cold smile on his face froze. If the emperor doesn't come in, then this minister will have a few words with the empress. Chu Xiaoyang waved his sleeve, and a strong wind flew out. The two long windows were closed with a pa sound, blocking Imo Chuan's line of sight. Imo Chuan gritted his teeth and looked at the two figures reflected on the paper window. His internal energy was deep, and no matter what happened in the room, it would not escape his ears. He was always on guard, and if Chu Xiaoyang dared to make a move, he would charge in without any hesitation. "This minister greets the empress." Chu Xiaoyang's voice rang out. He purposely dragged out his words. There was not a trace of humility in his voice, and it was filled with mockery. Chapter 1168. Chu Xiaoyang gave a proud and wild laugh. He laughed until tears began to flow out. All the anger and resentment in his chest burst forth in an instant. "Chu Xiaoyang, if you dare say another word, this one won't be polite to you." Imo Chuan's eyes popped out of their sockets when he heard this. He wished he could immediately grab Chu Xiaoyang's throat and stop his wild laughter. Huh. You won't be polite to me? When have you ever been polite to me? Emperor, I am your blood-related nephew. How have you treated me all these years? You stole my throne, and you stole my woman. What else do you want to take from me? Just come and take it. What throne, what noble title, you can take it all. I, Chu Xiaoyang, don't care about it at all. Even if you want to take my life, I won't even bat an eyelid. Chu Xiaoyang laughed like a mad tiger. He laughed while looking at Chen Ning without blinking. Tears unknowingly came to his eyes. No more. He had nothing left. Even the girl he had loved for 8 years had become someone else's bride. He had thought that his heart was dead, but he never thought that when he saw her, his dead heart would regain its vitality. It wildly beat in his chest, almost jumping out his chest. She still had the familiar face from his memories. Her skin was white, and her face was picturesque. Her face was a bit haggard, but her eyes were still as bright as before. Even after hearing his insulting words, her face was still calm. She just used her clear as water eyes to silently stare at him. Chu Xiaoyang's heart filled with shame, and he couldn't help lowering his head under her gaze. Those dirty insults were swallowed back into his stomach. He knew that he was no longer in her heart, and that she had become someone else's wife. He should hate her to the bone, but when he saw her eyes, Chu Xiaoyang found that he couldn't hate her at all. He was still deeply, deeply in love with her. This was truly sad. Chu Xiaoyang took a deep breath and looked up. Looking into Chun Ning's eyes, his beautiful lips slightly curled up, revealing a smile that could captivate the world. At this moment, it was like he was that high-spirited, arrogant king, Ding Yuan again. "I ought to congratulate you, don't I, Empress?" he said with a faint smile. Chun Ning looked at him for a while and noticed that his brows were raised. This was a friendly signal. He was no longer hostile towards her. She just stared at him, not saying a word. "I haven't seen you in a long time. Your poison. Is it completely cured?" Chu Xiaoyang spoke again. His voice was gentle and not aggressive at all. It was just like a concerned greeting from a friend. Chun Ning slowly nodded. "Thank you for the 1,000-year-old snow ginseng." Hearing the words 1,000-year-old snow ginseng, Chu Xiaoyang's eyes flashed with a complicated look, and his eyes became sharp again. He did not forget the scene in that dungeon. He did not forget that she had bloomed like a flower under his body. If Chu Xiaobai had not saved her, she would have already belonged to him. No one could take her away. But fate was always against Chu Xiaoyang, never letting him obtain what he wanted the most. Chapter 1169. He gave a cold laugh. "I traded a life for a life. You don't need to thank me. You saved me 8 years ago, and I saved you 8 years later. So we're even. I, Chu Xiaoyang, am not a begging person. You don't need to look at me like that. Do you think I'll still bother you? Do you think I'll still be infatuated with you? Let me tell you, this king already has a beloved concubine, and this king's son will be born soon. This king doesn't know how happy he is right now." Chu Xiaoyang said this in an arrogant tone. It was like he had turned back to the first time she saw him. Chun Ning gave a sigh in her heart. She did not ignore the change in his expression. She knew that he was saying these words for her to hear. It was like an injured animal hiding its injured side, baring its fangs and roaring. This was because he was afraid of being injured again. Her heart felt a bit sour, and an indescribable feeling filled her heart. He had not forgotten her at all. Even now, he still liked her like before. "It was him who told you to ask this king about the blueprint, right?" Chu Xiaoyang coldly looked at her, and his chest filled with anger once again. So she was the same as the emperor, treating him as a thief. This king will tell you the truth. That bullshit blueprint was stolen by this king. Does he think that he can hide his secret deal with a northern Shi country from this king's eyes and ears? This king will let him see it and not have it. He wants the blueprint. No, this king has already burned it down and burned it clean, not leaving a single thing behind. He paused and looked out the window with a cold gaze. He raised his voice and said, "If you want to punish this king for his crimes, just give the order. This king is not afraid. You can strip this king of his marquis title. You can throw this king into prison. You can even behead this king in public. Come, why do you need to hide outside and not show your face, letting a woman question this king? Chu Mo Chuan, if you were a man, give the order and take this king's head." Mo Chuan tightly pursed his lips. His eyes were filled with anger, but he did not say a word. If the blueprint really was stolen by Chu Xiaoyang, then his actions were treasonous. He could give the order to punish him, strip him of his title, and even behead him, but he could not do it. "I've found the blueprint," Chun Ning suddenly said. Chu Xiaoyang was like a mad lion, baring his teeth and roaring. He was stunned when he heard this. He turned to look at her and knit his brows. "Found it." Then a look of shock flashed across his face, and his lips curled into a cold sneer. "Since you found the blueprint, what are you doing here? Why are you keeping this king under house arrest? Why aren't you letting this king out?" His aura was overbearing. Chun Ning stared at him without blinking. She said unhurriedly, "Although the blueprints have been found, the mastermind behind the theft of the blueprints has not been found. I have now confirmed that this matter has nothing to do with the northern Qi emissaries. The most suspicious person is you. King Ding Yuan, can you tell me the real reason you want to visit the northern Qi envoy that day?" She directly asked while carefully observing Chu Xiaoyang's expression and body language at the same time. Chapter 1170. Chun Ning believed that no matter how careful Chu Xiaoyang was, if he was lying, there would still be traces left behind. Chu Xiaoyang's heart was filled with hatred as he coldly said, "You really are worthy of following the chicken and dog you marry. You've only been the empress for a few days, and you're already trying to act mighty in front of this king? Empress, are you treating this king as a criminal to interrogate? Whether I'm treating you as a criminal or not, you should be clear in your heart. King Ding Yuan, I hope to hear the truth from your mouth. If you didn't do it, I will not let you take the blame for someone else. If you really did it, I want to know what your goal is. Can you calm down and put away your anger?" Chun Ning silently looked at him like a hedgehog, stabbing people with his spikes. He, your words are even better than singing. Do you think this king doesn't know what you and Chu Mo Chuan are thinking? It doesn't matter if this king did it or not. Chu Mo Chuan will definitely put this dirty water on this king's head. As for you, you're just as bad as him. Whether it was done by me or not, what difference does it make? Why do you need to say these hypocritical words? Is it to make your conscience feel better? There's no need for that. Chu Xiaoyang had an excited expression as he waved his arms with a fierce look in his eyes. Mo Chuan couldn't help tightly clenching his fists as he stared at Chu Xiaoyang's figure. As long as he dared to charge at Chun Ning, he would break the window with a single punch and charge into the room. Although I, Chu Xiaoyang, am not a good person, I don't want to be a thief. Do you want to know why this king went to visit the northern Qi envoy that day? This king will tell you. This king heard that he brought a treasure blueprint, so he went to steal it. Because Chu Mo Chuan stole something from me, so I have to take back what he wants. I stole, not stole. Chu Mo Chuan, did you hear that? This matter was done by this king. This king is willing to admit that I'm not a little thief. I'm a great thief, ha 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 ha. He looked up into the sky as he laughed. Chun Ning gave a soft sigh and no longer said anything. She turned around and walked towards the door. Hey, don't go. Don't you have something you want to ask me? Ask as long as you ask. This king will tell you everything. Whatever you want to know, just ask. Chu Xiaoyang's laughter suddenly stopped. He looked at her back as she turned around, and his heart filled with fear. If she left, he would not be able to see her again in this life. Damn, what nonsense he had just said. He would not be able to see her in this time. He didn't know how long he had been waiting for this moment to see her. How could he just let her go like this? Chun Ning looked up and quietly looked at him. Chun and Chun Ning's Chun. Chun did not know what she wanted to do. Chun Ning looked up and quietly looked at him. I don't have anything else to ask. Ning, no matter what you ask, I will tell you everything in detail. Ninger, don't go. Say a few more words to me. You don't know how long I've been thinking about you before I finally see you again. Chun was Ning. There was only one candle flickering in the room, and the flickering light of the candle shone on her face. She was just as charming and moving as he remembered. This was the girl that he deeply loved in his heart. Chapter 1171. Chun Ning's expression slightly changed. She felt like the heart in her chest began to uncontrollably beat again. All right, I'll ask you again. You said that you were the one who ordered people to steal that blueprint. Do you know what's on that blueprint? She looked at him without blinking. Chu Xiaoyang replied without even thinking. Of course I know. Then tell me, what is it? Chu Xiaoyang hesitated for a bit before replying. Weapons, of course it's weapons. Oh, what kind of weapons are they? Spears? Swords? Halberds? Bows? Or crossbows? Or scythes? Chun Ning counted the names of the weapons as she looked at Chu Xiaoyang. Chu Xiaoyang asked back, Is this question important? No, it's not important at all. Chun Ning took a deep breath and opened the door. I've already asked what I needed to ask, and I already know the answer to this matter. King Ding Yuan, you can be assured that the emperor will not randomly accuse you of anything just because you were disrespectful to him. If it's right, then it's wrong. Whoever made a mistake will be the one to bear it. She said each word in a loud and clear voice. After saying this, she walked around Chu Xiaoyang and opened the door, walking out without looking back. Chu Xiaoyang's fingers slightly moved. When she passed by him, he almost couldn't control himself from wanting to grab her and tightly hug her. But he just stood there without moving. The wind came in from outside the door, lifting his robe and messing up his hair. His eyes stared at her back as he watched her walk to that man's side. That man tightly held her hand and pulled her out of his sight without looking back. Chu Xiaoyang seemed like he had turned into a statue. There was no expression on his face at all, but his eyes were filled with flames of pain. After walking a very, very far away, Imo Chuan finally stopped. He pulled Chen Ning's hand and faced her. Ning, I shouldn't have let you see him and be humiliated by him. This matter has nothing to do with you, but for me. No, Imo Chuan. Chen Ning gently cut him off. There was no anger or disgust on her face. Your matter is my matter, unless you don't treat me as one of your own. Silly girl, in this world, the person I trust the most is you. Imo Chuan reached out his arms and gave her a tight hug. Since Chu Xiaoyang admitted that he did it, I won't show mercy. Wait for me to report this to Mother, and then I'll punish him. Imo Chuan, do you believe his words? Do you really think that he is the mastermind behind all of this? Chen Ning looked up from his chest and looked at him with a surprised expression. Imo Chuan looked down, hiding the complex emotions in his eyes. He didn't want Chu Xiaoyang to be the mastermind more than anyone else, but he had personally admitted it. Other than him and Li Zhixing, no one else would know that it was a weapon. Chu Xiaoyang was right. So even if he wanted to absolve Chu Xiaoyang, he couldn't find a reason to do so. Imo Chuan, it's not him. Chu Xiaoyang's words today were all out of anger. He isn't the real mastermind. Chen Ning left his embrace and looked right at him, speaking word for word. Imo Chuan's deep black eyes fell on her face, and he softly said, Ninger, you don't want it to be him, right? Chapter 1172. Imo Chuan pulled her hand. He has already personally admitted it, so it can't be wrong. Ning, just leave this matter to me. You just came back and haven't had a good rest, running around for this matter. You must be very tired, right? I'll carry you back to sleep. He carried her without any explanation. Using his qinggong, he headed in the direction of the Guan Osprey Palace. The night wind blew against her face. Chen Ning could only swallow the words she wanted to say. She suddenly had a feeling that Imo Chuan did not want to hear her defend Chu Xiaoyang. Why was this? Could it be that he was jealous of Chu Xiaoyang? When they arrived at the Guan Osprey Palace, Missouri Chuan carried her to the bedroom with large steps and placed her on the large and soft bed. When Chen Ning was about to stand up, Imo Chuan raised his hand and placed it on her shoulder. Ning, you're too tired. What you need the most right now is rest, so it won't be too late to say anything tomorrow. Then what about you? Where are you going? She looked at him. Imo Chuan said with a faint smile, I'm not going anywhere. I'll stay here with you. He opened the blanket and covered her body. He took off his shoes and climbed onto the bed, letting her lie in his embrace. Then he said, Can you peacefully sleep now? Chen Ning bit her lips. She found that Imo Chuan's attitude was very strange, and she couldn't see through him at all. It was clearly him who came to find her to find out the truth, but now that the truth was about to be revealed, he deliberately avoided it. She tossed and turned in his embrace, unable to fall asleep. She suddenly sat up and looked at him. Imo Chuan, I must tell you that Chu Xiaoyang really isn't the mastermind behind this. Ninger, go to sleep. Imo Chuan closed his eyes and reached out to pull her, causing her to fall onto him. He tightly wrapped his arms around her, and his other hand slowly stroked her hair. In a deep voice, he said, I don't want to hear you mention another man's name when it's only the two of us on this bed. Imo Chuan. Chen Ning glared at him. If you don't go to sleep, I'll kiss you. Imo Chuan opened his eyes and looked at her with sparkling eyes. His eyes slowly moved down and fell onto her full red lips. Her face couldn't help turning red. She knew that he would do as he said. Thinking of his storm-like kisses, her face became even redder. She could only close her eyes and lie in his embrace without moving. Something warm and soft fell on her forehead, like a dragonfly skimming the surface of the water, kissing her lightly. Ninger, go to sleep. Imo Chuan's voice, filled with love, once again sounded in her ears. Chen Ning felt sleepy and unknowingly fell into a deep sleep. When she woke up again, she found that the sky was already bright, and the Mo Chuan beside her had already disappeared. She was in such a deep sleep that she didn't even know when he left. Chunning had a good sleep this time, feeling full of energy. Looking around and seeing familiar places, she revealed a faint smile. After traveling for so long, she finally returned home. She actually felt like a tired bird returning to its nest. Home. BB. Home. Did she already consider Guan Osprey Palace to be her home? It seemed that this was the first place she felt a sense of belonging since she transmigrated. He'd been here. Wherever he was, it would feel like home. She stretched herself and got off the bed. She walked to the window and pushed it open, wanting to breathe in some fresh air. She could already smell the fragrance of the flowers blowing in through the cracks in the window. Chapter 1173. Do you know? The emperor sent down an imperial edict early in the morning, sending King Ding Yuan to prison. What? Is this news true? How is that possible? King Ding Yuan is the emperor's blood-related nephew. It's completely true. I heard from the guards in the palace that King Ding Yuan had sent someone to steal an important item from the emperor, angering the emperor. So he reported this to the Empress Dowager and punished King Ding Yuan. King Ding Yuan would steal the emperor's item? What item could be so important? How would we servants know? It must be an important item. In the corner of the window, several maids cleaning the courtyard were chattering, discussing the large matter that had happened in the palace. They never would have thought that their whispers would be heard by Chun Ning, not missing a single word. She stood in front of the window with her hand on the window frame, but she did not open it. It was like her acupuncture point had been poked, completely stunned. The maids discussed in a low voice for a while before dispersing and cleaning the courtyard. Chun Ning stood in a daze in front of the window for a long time until there was a soft knocking sound coming from the door. "Young miss, are you awake?" It was Xiao Ru's voice. It was like she did not hear anything as she stood in front of the window. The voices of the maids echoed in her ears. Chu Xiaoyang had been punished by Mo Chuan and thrown into prison, and it was in the name of stealing. But the mastermind behind the blueprint was not Chu Xiaoyang at all. Chun Ning was 100% sure that this matter had nothing to do with Chu Xiaoyang. She had wanted to tell Mo Chuan her thoughts several times last night, but Mo Chuan had interrupted her and changed the topic. Could it be that Mo Chuan did not want to hear it at all? Or did he already think that Chu Xiaoyang was the mastermind? She knit her brows and thought about it. This answer, only Mo Chuan could give her. But Mo Chuan had disappeared early in the morning. Was he purposely avoiding her, not wanting to hear her true answer? "Young miss, you're awake? This servant thought you were sleeping, so I didn't dare disturb you." The door was silently pushed open, and Xiao Ru quietly walked in with her toiletries. Seeing Chun Ning standing in front of the window, she let out a sigh of relief and revealed a pure smile on her face. It was like a ray of sunlight, dispelling the haze in Chun Ning's heart. Chun Ning walked over with a smile and rubbed her hair. She thought that if she was as pure as Xiao Ru, perhaps she would be a lot happier. "Xiao Ru, go and find out where the Minister of War Li Zhixing is being held." After washing up, Chun Ning decided to continue investigating the truth of the matter. She had already met 2 of the 3 suspects. She had to meet the last one to confirm her judgment. The news that Xiao Ru had brought back shocked her. When Mo Chuan gave the order to lock Li Zhixing up in the heavenly prison, he had already restored Li Zhixing's freedom and allowed him to return to his palace. It seemed like Mo Chuan had already made his decision. He believed that the person who stole the blueprints was Chu Xiaoyang and no longer suspected Li Zhixing. She looked up at the sky outside. Mo Chuan should have finished his morning court session at this time. He did not return to the Guanyu Palace, so he should be in the royal study. She looked up at the sky outside. Mo Chuan should have finished morning court at this time. He didn't return to the Guan Osprey Palace, so he must be in the royal study dealing with matters. Chapter 1174. Xiao Ru, go prepare 2 sets of eunuch clothes and leave the palace with me. Chun Ning said. Xiao Ru's eyes opened wide in surprise before her face filled with excitement. "All right, young miss, this servant will immediately go." Are you taking this servant out of the palace to play? She was as excited as a child. Once she heard leaving the palace, she immediately thought of the bustling streets, the countless delicious foods, and the fun things to do. Ning smiled as she pinched her round little face. I'm taking you out of the palace to do official business. It's not playing around. Are we going to Dr. Zhang's palace? This is great. This servant can see Xiaoxi again. He ignored me yesterday, and I have many things I want to say to him. Xiaoru excitedly rushed out. Ning revealed a bitter smile. It's Xiaoxi again. This girl's mouth was always thinking about Xiaoxi. Could it be that she really liked Xiaoxi? She and Xiaoru changed into eunuch clothes and took out the palace exit token. They easily left the palace, not attracting any attention or suspicion. Once they left the palace, she asked the passers-by where Li Jixing lived. Then she brought Xiaoru to the Li Palace. I'm here on the Emperor's orders to see Sir Li. Arriving at the Li Palace, Ning raised her head and took out a token. She waved it in front of the Li Palace's gatekeeper. When the gatekeeper saw the yellow token and saw that she and Xiaoru were eunuchs from the palace, how could he dare neglect them? He quickly smiled and asked them to wait a bit as he quickly went in to report to Li Jixing. Li Jixing had just been released back to his palace and was currently resting. When he heard that the palace had sent people over and that there was an imperial token, he was shocked and quickly came out to greet them. When he came to the door, he found that it was two eunuchs wearing normal eunuch clothes and not the faces of the emperor. His heart that was in his throat fell back down, but he still had a smile on his face as he cupped his hands to Ning and Xiaoru. Are the two eunuchs here on the emperor's orders to see this official? Ning looked up at him. Li Jixing was wearing a purple robe and was around 40 years old. He had a dignified appearance and a long black beard. He looked like a scholar and did not look like someone who practiced martial arts. His eyes slightly narrowed as he looked at Ning and Xiaoru. His heart was a little hesitant. This slightly taller eunuch looked a little familiar, as if he had seen him somewhere before, but he couldn't remember where. Li Jixing naturally knew that this was a royal gift and quickly said, "Two eunuchs, please come in. This official will serve you of tea." Li Jixing naturally recognized that this was a gift from the emperor. He hurriedly said, "Please come in, eunuchs. Let me serve you tea." He personally led Ning and Xiaoru to the living room and served them tea. After sitting down, he was not in a rush to ask questions and instead looked at Ning with a faint smile. With his many years of experience as an official, he could already tell that Ning was the one who had been ordered to pass the message. As for Xiaoru, she kept her head down the entire time and followed behind Ning. She looked like a timid little eunuch who had never left the palace. She did not arouse Li Jixing's suspicions at all. "Sir Li, how old are you this year?" Ning arrogantly sat down and took a sip of tea before slowly opening her mouth. Li Jixing was a little surprised. He did not think that Ning's first question would be this, but he quickly regained his composure and replied, "That's right." Chapter 1175. I heard that Sir Li has many beautiful concubines. May I ask how many concubines does Sir Li have? Ning asked. This lowly official has a total of 13 concubines. Li Jixing carefully replied. His heart skipped a beat, thinking that it was finally here. He thought that Ning wanted him to call out his fifth concubine as a witness for what happened that night, so he was prepared to call someone over. He never thought that Ning would take another sip of tea and change the topic. The emperor said that Sir Li has forged weapons before. May I ask what kind of weapon Sir Li is best at? Is it a long knife, a short sword, a spear, an arrow, a crossbow, or some other strange weapon? Li Jixing was stunned again. He thought about it and said, "When this lowly official was young, I learned a bit of the art of forging from a blacksmith master, but I am definitely not proficient in it. I most often forge tools like hoes and sickles. As for weapons, I only know how to make simple short knives and daggers." So you're saying that Sir Li doesn't know how to make bows and arrows or crossbows? Ning asked. When Li Jixing heard the word crossbow, his eyebrows slightly moved and his eyes couldn't help turning to the upper right corner. Then he shook his head and said, "No, But this lowly official has received the favor of the emperor and been given the heavy responsibility of being the minister of war. I have studied the blueprints of all 18 kinds of weapons. Although I don't know how to make them, I can still understand the principles behind them. Although Chun Ning's words were gentle and she didn't question him, Li Jixing's heart couldn't help becoming nervous. He became even more cautious with his answer. Chun Ning nodded and looked around the living room. She saw a painting of a fierce tiger coming down the mountain, hanging in the middle of the hall. She stood up and walked in front of the painting to carefully admire it. Li Jixing also stood up and said with a faint smile, "Does grandfather like this painting?" Chun Ning said, "I am a lowly person, so how could I understand paintings? I only saw that this tiger was painted in an awe-inspiring manner, with a bit of the style of a king of beasts. This painting is so lifelike. It must have been painted by an imperial painter." Li Jixing revealed a proud look in his eyes and said with a smile, "Grandfather is too kind. This painting was not painted by a master. It was just this lowly official's random graffiti." Although he said it was a random graffiti, he couldn't hide the proud look on his face. This was because Chun Ning's words had hit the bottom of his heart. Although he was the minister of war, he was a very good painter, and the one he was most proud of was this tiger descending the mountain painting. "Ah, so Sir Li is skilled in both the pen and the sword. Sir Ji is both. My apologies for not recognizing me. I didn't expect Sir Li to know how to forge weapons and paint so well. If the emperor knew that Sir Li had such talent, he would definitely be very happy. Perhaps he would even appreciate Sir Li even more." The smile on Li Jixing's face became even deeper. He took out a red seal from his sleeve and quietly placed it in Chun Ning's hand. "I asked Grandfather Ji of Chun Li Ji, say something good in front of this." Chun Ning put the red seal into her sleeve and said with a smile, "Say a few good words for me?" "Ji is. Darren Li must have other matters to attend to, so I will take my leave first. The emperor is still waiting for me to return to the palace to report." Chapter 1176. The emperor suddenly sent these two eunuchs to interrogate him, and the questions they asked were completely unrelated. What was the meaning of this? Even though Li Jixing thought he was smart, he was still confused. He could not understand the meaning behind Chun Ning's words. Could it be that the emperor was still suspicious of him because of the stolen blueprints? But with the imperial edict this morning, Chu Xiaoyang had already been sentenced to prison. Could it be that something had changed? But he observed Chun Ning's expression. The emperor did not seem to be suspicious of him. If he was suspicious, he would not have sent these two little eunuchs to interrogate him. The emperor would have already summoned him into the palace and personally interrogated him. Li Jixing thought of the questions Chun Ning had asked him, and his heart fell back into his stomach. He was just an incompetent little eunuch. What did he know? Chun Ning and Xiao Ru turned the corner and arrived at a place where there was no one. She took out the red envelope that Li Jixing had given her from her sleeve and opened it. There was only a thin piece of paper inside. So stingy. Xiao Ru could not help flattening her lips. She recognized that it was the banknote of the largest bank in the capital. But he only gave her one, and it was at most 200 silver coins. Stingy. Chun Ning revealed a faint smile. She took out the banknote and waved it in front of Xiao Ru. "My God, it's actually gold. An entire 100 gold coins." Xiao Ru finally realized that it was not a banknote, but rather a 100 gold coins banknote. Her eyes suddenly popped out and began to shine. "Who would have thought that I would make a small fortune on this trip out of the palace? This Sir Li is really generous, giving out 100 gold coins in one go. Xiao Ru, this is for you." Chun Ning smiled as she handed the gold banknote over to Xiao Ru. "This servant can't take it, this is too much." Xiao Ru did not dare take it. This 100 gold coins was worth at least a few thousand silver coins. "If I say take it, then take it. Since this is ill-gotten money, you can keep it as your dowry." Chun Ning giggled and stuffed the gold banknote into Xiao Ru's hands. Hearing the word dowry, Xiao Ru's face could not help turning red. Of course, she knew that in this era, a woman's dowry represented her status. She was a maid, so if she did not have a dowry, she would be looked down upon by her husband's family. But if she had a large dowry, then she would be looked down upon. But if she had a large dowry, then she would be looked up by others. Eldest Miss, I don't want to. I will never marry in this life. I will always follow Eldest Mississippi. I won't marry anyone, she said with a firm expression. Silly girl. Chen Ning smiled and put away the gold bills. She pinched her cheeks and said, All right, then I'll help you put them away first. When you get married, I'll give you another box. Xiao Ru stomped her foot. Young miss, you always want this servant to marry someone. Is it because this servant is too stupid and you don't want this servant to stay by your side to serve you? She pursed her lips in grievance and almost cried out. Chen Ning smiled and said, If I say I want you to get married now, then you'll start crying. In a few years, if I don't want you to get married, then I don't know how much you'll cry, hee. Xiao Ru's face turned red from her teasing. She wanted to cry and laugh at the same time. Tears began to form in her eyes. Chapter 1177. Although Xiao Ru was not that smart, she was simple and pure, wholeheartedly treating her well. Whenever she thought of her, she would feel touched and warm. Chen Ning had already treated Xiao Ru like her own little sister. Her heart was thinking that no matter what, she would find a good home for Xiao Ru, letting her live a peaceful and happy life without any worries. Young miss, aren't we going back to the palace? Xiao Ru found that Chen Ning was leading her through the streets, heading east. Returning to the palace should be heading west. Of course not. We're going to Dr. Zhang's palace now. I want to see Xiao Bai's condition and see my master. Chen Ning pulled Xiao Ru faster. Hearing that they were going to Dr. Zhang's palace, Xiao Ru's eyes lit up. She giggled and clapped her hands. Going to Dr. Zhang's palace. That's great. Great? What's so great about it? Chen Ning turned around and looked at her with a smile. You want to see Xiao Si, right? That's right, this servant has a lot of things to say to Xiao Si. Our experience on this road was very exciting. I believe that Xiao Si will be stunned listening to it. It was always him telling me stories before, but now I can finally tell him stories. Xiao Ru's eyes lit up with excitement, and her little face turned red. She was innocent and did not know how to hide her feelings at all. If she liked him, then she liked him. Whatever she thought in her heart, she would say it, not hiding it at all. Chen Ning gave a slight sigh in her heart. She really envied Xiao Ru's frankness. She couldn't do it herself. The two of them arrived at Dr. Zhang's palace. The gatekeeper saw that the two of them were wearing eunuch robes and thought that they were eunuchs sent by the palace, so he let them in. Chen Ning brought Xiao Ru to a familiar room in the back courtyard. Before they could even enter, she saw Zhu Feng come out of the room and block the door with a vigilant look. Who are you? Where do you work? How come I've never seen you before? He had followed Mo Chuan for 10 years, and he had seen almost everyone in the palace. Whether it was the guards or the eunuchs, the old or the young, perhaps he couldn't remember their names, but he had an impression of each person's face. Seeing Chen Ning and Xiao Ru disguised as eunuchs, he couldn't help being stunned. He felt that they looked familiar, but he was sure that there had never been two eunuchs in the palace before. Xiao Ru's mouth flattened and her nose turned up. She fiercely rolled her eyes at him and then turned around, ignoring him. She still remembered the last time he ignored her. She swore that if she spoke to him again, she would be the son of a B***tch. Zhu Feng was stunned for a second, feeling that this little eunuch's expression was very familiar. He took a closer look and recognized Xiao Ru. Then he recognized Chen Ning. This subordinate greets the Empress. He quickly bowed down. No need to be so polite. How is Xiao Bai? Xiao. Chen Ning said this as she walked through the door. King Jing is already out of danger, and the divine Dr. Gu has said that his life has been saved. As long as he continues to take medicine, he should be fine in less than 10 days. Zhu Feng followed behind Chen Ning with a happy expression, but he was forcefully stepped on by Chen Ning. Ning, Ling Chen said, Ling, Ning, and said. Chapter 1178. Zhu Feng took 2 steps back and strangely scratched his head. He was thinking that he had not offended this stupid girl. So why was she treating him like this recently? This was really strange. Xiao Bai. Ning walked into the room and couldn't help calling out in a soft voice. Then she was pleasantly surprised to find that Xiao Bai's long eyelashes seemed to slightly tremble, but when she looked closely, his eyes were still closed and he did not move at all. It seemed like it was just an illusion. Her heart was filled with a bit of disappointment. She suddenly heard Gu Qing's voice ring out. When she came in, Gu Qingzi was probably too tired. He had not rested for an entire day and night, so he was sleeping soundly on the couch, so she did not disturb him. Master, you're awake? Ning looked back with a face filled with gratitude. Gu Qingzi jumped up from the couch with a very nimble movement. If Zhui Feng saw this scene, his chin would have fallen off. The patient is responding to your call. Gu Qingzi was a bit surprised. He placed 3 fingers on Xiao Bai's pulse and said, "Little girl Chun, call him again." Ning was pleasantly surprised. She raised her voice and whispered into Xiao Bai's ear, "Xiao Bai, I'm here to see you. Can you hear me?" Gu Qingzi felt the pulse under his fingers suddenly jump twice. His calm face suddenly filled with excitement as he said, "Keep talking to him. He really is responding to your voice." Although he had spoken very confidently in front of Ning, Xiao Bai's illness was the most troublesome and difficult illness he had ever encountered. Whether or not he could be pulled back from the gates of hell, he had no confidence at all. Especially after a night of problems, he had used almost all of his strength and reached the limit of his medical skills before finally bringing Xiao Bai back from the dead. Now Xiao Bai's life was saved, but his mind had not recovered. No matter if he used acupuncture, fire, or scratches, Xiao Bai did not react at all, which made him very annoyed. Although he had saved Xiao Bai's life, he was like a living dead. He was in a daze, not moving at all. Wasn't this the greatest shame in his medical history? Otherwise, he wouldn't have made a move. Since he made a move, he would make the patient return to how he was before he got sick, lively, and jumping around. If he kept treating him and ended up treating a living dead, then his reputation as the #1 divine doctor in the world would be destroyed. But no matter how he thought, he could not find a way to awaken Xiao Bai's mind. He had tried everything he could think of, but it was all useless. This was the first time Gu Qingzi felt helpless as a doctor, but he had a strong personality. When Zhui Feng asked him about Xiao Bai's condition, he said without any hesitation that he would be cured in 10 days. Gu Qingzi knew in his heart that he could cure Xiao Bai's body, but his heart, he could not cure it. Unless he could find the key to unlock the lock in his heart, he might lie on the bed without knowing anything for the rest of his life, becoming a living dead. At this time, he found that after Ning came in, with just a soft call, Xiao Bai's eyelashes trembled a bit. Chapter 1179. Gu Qingzi felt a chill run down his back. He quickly shook his head and threw this absurd thought to the back of his head. This was impossible. Ning was the empress. How could she be the lover of this brat, Xiao Bai? This was definitely impossible. Ning sat down in front of the bed. Seeing Xiao Bai's pale face, her heart turned sour and her eyes turned red. The first time she saw him, he was in high spirits and had a spring-like smile. He was like a completely different person now. Now that he was this pale and haggard, with a narrow escape, it was all because of her. She owed him too much, and she didn't know if she would ever have the chance to repay him in this lifetime. Xiao Bai, you've done very well. You really kept your promise. When I left, you promised me that you would wait for me to come back, and you really did it. You know, I invited the world's #1 divine doctor to treat your illness, so you will definitely get better. You've done the first thing you promised me, but you haven't done the second thing you promised me. I want to wait for you to completely recover, and then I'll finish that thing. You're a man, so you should keep your promise. You cannot do what you promised me. Otherwise, I'll be angry with you and never talk to you again. When she said this, Gu Qingzi suddenly looked up with a look of joy on his face. The patient's pulse is becoming stronger and stronger. Ning, feed him some porridge in a bit. This stinky brat His stomach clearly doesn't have any problems, but no matter what I feed him, he will spit it out. He's clearly going against me. All right. Chunning nodded and revealed a faint smile on her face. She also found that after she spoke to Chu Xiaobai, his pale white face seemed to have a bit of red. Xiaoru, go make some porridge. The lotus-fragrant rice porridge you made last time was very tasty. Is it really tasty? Young miss, you and the divine Dr. Gu must be hungry. This servant will go make some more porridge. Xiaoru happily walked out. When she opened the door, she almost bumped into a person. Zhui Feng, what are you standing here for? Don't you know that a good dog doesn't block the way? She looked over and was filled with anger. The thin bamboo pole-like person standing at the door? If it wasn't Zhui Feng, who else could it be? Zhui Feng felt very innocent. He was just standing there without moving, but he was being called a dog again. But he remembered what Xiao Si said before. He should never reason with a woman. So he silently retreated to the side. He didn't say anything to defend himself and let Xiaoru pass by him. In the room, Gu Qingze couldn't help asking, Chen Ning, what did you promise to do with this stinky brat? This matter can only be done by him. Can it be done by others? Chen Ning nodded and raised her voice as she said, That's right. Only Xiao Bai can help me. Xiao Bai, you have to wake up. Do you understand? Gu Qingze was a little depressed and muttered, I don't see where this kid is stronger than me. If he can do it, I can do it too. Chapter 1180. Gu Qingze almost spat out the rice. He stared at Chen Ning, not knowing if he wanted to laugh or be angry. This mischievous girl, she was actually playing tricks on a half-dead person. What kind of person was she? Was it wrong for him to accept her as his disciple? She was full of schemes. Who knew if this girl would even play tricks on her master in the future? Gu Qingze felt a headache coming on. Not long after, Xiaoru came in with 3 bowls of steaming hot porridge. Chen Ning picked up a bowl of porridge and blew on it to cool it down. Then she scooped up a small spoonful and placed it in front of Chu Xiaobai's lips. Don't feed him too much. He hasn't eaten in a long time and his stomach is empty. If he eats too much, it will be bad for his body, so just feed him a few mouthfuls. Gu Qingze said. All right. Chen Ning carefully fed the porridge into Chu Xiaobai's mouth and was pleasantly surprised to find that he actually began to swallow. His throat moved and he slowly swallowed that mouthful of porridge. Very good. Keep feeding him. Gu Qingze said again, but he was thinking in his heart, this stinky brat, when a beautiful girl fed him porridge, he couldn't wait to eat it. I fed him porridge, but he spat it all out, pay. Chen Ning slowly fed him a few more spoonfuls. Chu Xiaobai swallowed it all, and he didn't show any signs of vomiting after a while. All right, let him rest for a while. In another hour, I will give him acupuncture. At that time, you will watch from the side, and I will begin to teach you acupuncture techniques. Gu Qingze picked up the bowl of porridge and ate 3 large bowls with the side dishes. Only then did he put down his chopsticks in satisfaction. He sat back in his wheelchair and patted his stomach. After Chen Ning finished the bowl of porridge, she revealed a faint smile to Xiaoru and said, Xiaoru, is there more porridge? There's still a lot. Young miss, I'll help you get more. Xiaoru's smile turned into crescents. She saw that the things she made were so popular, she was happier than eating 10 bowls of porridge in a row. I'm already full. Xiaoru, you haven't eaten yet, right? Quickly go eat something. That's right, Zhui Feng hasn't eaten yet either. If there's more porridge, give Zhui Feng a few bowls. Look at how thin he is. He'll be blown away by the wind. Chen Ning revealed a smile as she looked out the door. She saw Zhui Feng's tall and thin figure standing outside. His eyes were staring at the porridge in Xiaoru's hands. His throat was moving up and down. Clearly he was hungry. She knew that Xiaoru was angry with Zhui Feng, so she deliberately made Zhui Feng look very pitiful, wanting to arouse Xiaoru's sympathy. Who would have thought that Xiaoru's anger towards Zhui Feng had not disappeared? She hatefully said, being blown away by the wind is better. Being blown to someone else's house is better than being stuck at the door like a dog blocking the road. Ning, out he would Feng. Shi Ning, shi, tu, shi Feng, she phone she. After a while, she came out of the kitchen with a bowl full of porridge and walked over to Zhue Feng. Zhue Feng's stomach was already rumbling with hunger. When he saw Chun Ning and Gu Qingzi eating porridge, it was unknown how much saliva he swallowed. But because of his pride as a man, he couldn't ask Xiao Ru, the stupid girl he looked down on, for a mouthful of porridge. At this time, he saw Xiao Ru come over with the fragrant porridge. His eyes couldn't help lighting up, and he reached out to receive the porridge. Miss Xiao Ru, many thanks. Chapter 1181. This was because Xiao Ru directly threw the porridge on the ground and stomped her foot as she said, "Humph, the porridge I made, I'd rather feed it to the dogs than give it to those people who don't know what's good for them." After Xiao Ru said this, she turned to leave. Zhue Feng's face instantly turned red like he had been slapped by Xiao Ru. He was very embarrassed and wanted to dig a hole in the ground for him to hide in. He took back his hand and forcefully clenched it into a fist. Then he stared at Xiao Ru's back. While he was embarrassed, he couldn't help feeling angry. Wasn't it just a bowl of porridge? What was so special about it? That stupid girl actually treated it like a treasure, not willing to give it to him. Humph! She would rather feed it to the dogs than him. Was he not even comparable to a dog in her eyes? Zhue Feng's heart felt very uncomfortable. Chun Ning saw this scene, and she couldn't help secretly shaking her head. Zhue Feng really was a blockhead. He had ignored Xiao Ru for the past few days and had offended Xiao Ru. Did he not know that women could not be offended? It was estimated that Xiao Ru would remember him for a lifetime and be angry with him for a lifetime. Perhaps Zhue Feng would never have a chance to personally eat Xiao Ru's porridge. Xiao Ru brought out another bowl of porridge from the kitchen. This was what she had prepared for Xiao Si. This time Zhue Feng did not even look at her. His eyes looked at his nose looked at his heart, and his eyes did not move. However, after smelling the aroma of the porridge, his stomach failed to live up to his expectations and growled. Gulu lu. In an instant, Zhue Feng's face turned red to his ears, and he was so embarrassed that he wanted to hide in a hole. He looked down and stared at his shoes. He forcefully pressed down on his stomach and said in his heart, "You're not allowed to cry out. You're not allowed to cry out. This is simply too shameful." Who would have thought that the harder he pressed down, the louder his stomach would cry out? It was like it was purposely going against him. Although Zhue Feng did not look up, he could see Xiao Ru's mocking eyes looking at him. He felt ashamed and immediately activated his Qinggong. He jumped onto the roof and disappeared from everyone's sight like a breeze. Ha 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 ha. Xiao Ru held the bowl of porridge. Seeing Zhue Feng's sorry appearance, she couldn't help holding her stomach as she laughed. She bent over, and the bowl of porridge in her hand fell to the ground, spilling the porridge all over the ground. Interesting, very interesting. Stupid blockhead, you want to eat the porridge I cook, but you can't. You're going to starve to death. You're going to die of hunger. She felt that the anger from Zhue Feng had been swept away, and her mood became incomparably carefree. However, this happy mood of hers instantly turned to disappointment when she couldn't find Xiao Si. "Dr. Zhang, do you know where Xiao Si went?" She couldn't help waking up Dr. Zhang, who was sleeping soundly in the room. Dr. Zhang drowsily waved his hand. "Where did these mosquitoes come from? Don't disturb my old man's sleep." He turned over and continued to sleep soundly. After not having a good rest for over 10 days, the #1 divine doctor in the world finally came to save Chu Xiao Bai from danger. Dr. Zhang's old heart finally fell back into his stomach, and he could finally have a good sleep. Right now, even thunder wouldn't wake him up. Xiao Ru called out to him a few more times, but Dr. Zhang didn't hear her. His snoring became louder and louder. She had no choice but to withdraw from the door. She sat on the steps in a daze and stared at the courtyard door. If she couldn't find Xiao Si, he must have returned to the emperor's side. Chapter 1182. Inside the room, Chun Ning did not notice Xiao Ru's dazed expression. She took out the 5 repeating crossbow blueprint from her chest. "Master, I have something I want to ask you." Gu Qingzi saw the blueprint in her hand, and his eyes lit up. He said, What kind of medical book is this? Let me have a look. On the way back to the capital, Chunning had memorized all the medical books he wanted and gave them to him. Each one made him feel enlightened, and it could be said that he had benefited a lot. But he knew that Chunning's mind must have some good things that he had not read yet. He took the blueprint and glanced at it. He knew that it was not the medical book he was hoping for. He couldn't help feeling disappointed and threw it back to Chunning without any interest. What kind of broken thing is this? He said in a bad mood. Master, can you understand this blueprint? Chunning did not get angry and asked with a smile. Do you think your master is an idiot that doesn't understand anything? Gu Qingze said in a displeased voice. Isn't it just a blueprint for a 5-repeating crossbow? It's nothing special. It's not something rare. Chunning's eyes flashed with interest. Master, are you saying that you can also make this 5-repeating crossbow? Gu Qingze lazily leaned back in his chair and closed his eyes. He gave a non-committal unsound. Chunning felt this was very strange. She had heard from Mo Chuan that this 5-repeating crossbow was a secret of Northern Qi, so she never would have thought that Gu Qingze wouldn't know how to make it. She knew that although Gu Qingze was a strange and arrogant person, he was a man of his word and never lied. If he said he could make it, then he could make it. If she knew this earlier, she would not have been in such a rush to make a deal with the Northern Qi envoy. She could have saved a large amount of money for the West Chu treasury. Gu Qingze closed his eyes and said unhurriedly, If you want me to help you make the thing on this blueprint, it's not impossible. Take out an ancient medical book that I haven't read, and I'll make you a quintuple crossbow. I guarantee it'll be even more exquisite and nimble than the one on this blueprint. Chunning's eyes lit up. If Master doesn't care about it, then I don't care about it either. It's just a 5-repeating crossbow. It really isn't anything special. Master, I want a 10-repeating crossbow. If you can make it for me, I'll give you 3 medical books. 3 units? Gu Qingze suddenly opened his eyes and straightened up from his chair. Are you serious? It's completely true. Chunning solemnly nodded. You said you want 10 repeating crossbows? Gu Qingze looked at her thoughtfully. Master, can you make it? She didn't answer his question, but instead asked him a question, her eyes shining brightly. Gu Qingze answered without hesitation. I can't do it. As far as I know, no one in this world has ever been able to make 10 repeating crossbows. Even the best weaponsmiths in Northern Qi can only make 8. Chunning was not disappointed. She smiled and said, Then, Master, if I had the 10 crossbow blueprints, would you be able to make it? Ning, you said you have the blueprint for a 10-shot crossbow? Gu Qingze's face, which had always been as calm and composed as an ancient well without ripples, finally showed an expression of surprise. For the first time, his eyes revealed the light of excitement. Gu Qingze's calm face finally revealed a shocked expression. Even the most famous master in Northern Qi admired him. Bystanders all said that his medical skills were unparalleled, but no one knew that his skill in the art of hidden weapons was also unparalleled. Even the most famous craftsmen in Northern Qi admired him greatly. Chapter 1183. As the saying goes, if you don't go crazy, you won't survive. It was because Gu Qingze was obsessed with this that he easily fell into the trap that Chunning had designed for him. All right, Chunning was waiting for him to say this. She pursed her lips and walked over to the desk to the side, laying down a piece of white paper. She was still not used to the soft brush, so she had Xiaoru bring in a piece of charcoal from the kitchen. She drew on the white paper and began to sketch the Zhuge repeating crossbow's blueprint. Although it was just a sketch, and each part only had a few simple strokes, in the eyes of a great expert like Gu Qingze, the production principle was clear at a glance. He stared at Chunning's drawing without blinking. His eyes revealed a look of fanaticism and joy as he pondered over it. Woo, so it's like this. Not bad, not bad. This is a clever idea, completely unconventional. He sometimes nodded and sometimes shook his head. When Chunning finished drawing the Zhuge repeating crossbow's blueprint, he carefully looked at it in his hand. After a while, he put it down. The idea is good, but it's a pity it's too clumsy. Using this method to make a 10 repeating crossbow, it requires at least 2 or 3 people to use it. It can't be used by one person at all, so on the battlefield, it's just trash. It's flashy but not practical. When Chen Ning heard this, her eyes began to shine even brighter. This was because Gu Qingze had only looked at the blueprint a few times and was able to immediately point out the drawbacks of the Zhuge repeating crossbow. This was already not a normal master's level. You're right, this 10 repeating crossbow is indeed clumsy, but master, you can improve it, right? She smiled as she suggested. Gu Qingze was enlightened as he suddenly slapped his thigh and shouted, "That's right, I can improve it." But then he became a little dispirited, but making a 10 repeating crossbow is not that interesting. Northern Qi's Shi Yinyu can already make 8 repeating crossbows, so even if I make a 10 repeating crossbow, I won't be any better than him. It's not worth my effort to improve this thing. Qi Yinyu? Chen Ning said in a curious voice. This was the first time she had heard this name. Who is he? You don't even know Qi Yinyu? Then where did this 10 repeating crossbow blueprint come from? Was it not given to you by Qi Yinyu? Gu Qingze said in a surprised voice. Of course not. I accidentally wrote down this blueprint in an ancient book. It has nothing to do with the Qi Yinyu you speak of. Master, is this Qi Yinyu the master that invented and made the 5 repeating crossbow? Gu Qingze had a strange expression. He could not think that other than Qi Yinyu, there was another person in this world that had invented the 10 repeating crossbow. He composed himself and said, "That's right. He's the one who made the quintuple repeating crossbow, and I've heard that he recently made the octuple repeating crossbow. He's the greatest weaponsmith in Northern Qi, as well as the entire continent. There's almost no one who doesn't know his name. You're ignorant and inexperienced, so it's not surprising that you don't know his name." Amazing! Chen Ning stuck out her tongue and giggled as she said, "Master, you said that he's the most amazing production master, but is he better than Master? Chun, I don't believe it. He is an expert in making weapons, and I am an expert in hidden weapons. We both have our specialties and are evenly matched." Gu Qingze's face turned cold. Zazi, looking at Gu Qingze's stinky face, there must be a story behind this. Chapter 1184. But Chen Ning never thought that Gu Qingze would not have any interest in the improved 10 repeating crossbow. She lowered her head and thought about it. Then she suddenly looked up and said, "I also know of a crossbow blueprint that can shoot 50 arrows at once. It's incomparably powerful, but it's a pity that the blueprint is incomplete and the method to make it has already been lost." 50 repeating crossbows. This time Gu Qingze was truly shocked. His eyes opened wide in disbelief as he stared at Chen Ning without blinking. There's actually this kind of magical forging technique in this world. I don't believe it. Quickly draw it. Quickly draw the blueprint for me to see. He impatiently urged her. Ever since Chen Ning met him, this was the first time she had seen him this agitated. "But Master, that blueprint is incomplete. Even if I draw it, I can't make it." She deliberately spread her hands and revealed a helpless expression. Gu Qingze stared at her. "If I tell you to draw it, then draw it. If you can't make it, then can't your master make it?" He could not hide the excitement in his voice. His hands on the chair began to heat up, and his eyes filled with passion. 50 repeating crossbows. This was a 50 repeating crossbow. Ha! Ha! If he could make 50 repeating crossbows, he would step on that person and make him look up to him forever. Just thinking of this, he felt an indescribable joy in his heart. "All right, then I'll draw it now." Chen Ning pursed her lips. She picked up the charcoal pen again and began to draw the blueprint. Although Ma Jun's invention of the method to make 50 repeating crossbows had been lost for a long time, she still remembered a few pages of incomplete blueprints. Thus, she meticulously drew them according to her memory. Gu Qingze took the blueprint, and his face turned serious. He knit his brows and carefully looked at it. Chen Ning held her breath, not daring to disturb his train of thought. Because there were too many missing parts of the blueprint, there were many key parts that did not have examples. Wanting to recreate the 50 repeating crossbows with these incomplete blueprints was as hard as ascending to the heavens. The 10 arrows of the Juga repeating crossbow were too heavy and clumsy, so they could not be used by a single person. These 50 repeating crossbows were 5 times more than the Juga repeating crossbow, and the weight and volume of the arrow box were also 5 times larger. Wanting a single person to shoot 50 arrows at once was no different from a fantasy. It was an impossible task. Guqingze quickly realized this point, so his brows knit even tighter. This was a problem he could not solve at all. This was a problem he could not solve. Even if he could make 50 crossbows according to this incomplete blueprint, it would be like the Juga repeating crossbow, flashy but impractical and unusable. This was something that a perfect person like him could not accept. Even if the shaft is made of the lightest material, the arrowheads must be made of iron. If it's the lightest, thin-bladed type, then each arrow must weigh at least 6 taels. It's impossible to reduce the weight any further. If the weight of the arrow box is added, it's impossible for one person to use it. No, I have to think of another way to reduce the weight of the arrows. Guqingze was thinking while muttering to himself. He raised his head and looked at the ceiling. His mind was filled with ideas, but they were all rejected by him. No, this method won't work either. Let me think about it. Perhaps this will work? No, it still won't work. Chapter 1185. She turned her eyes and suddenly said, "Master, these 50 repeating crossbows are actually waste. Other than wasting arrows, it doesn't have much power at all." Guqingze's thoughts were interrupted, but he was not angry. He turned to look at Chunning. "Chun girl, do you know what a 50 repeating crossbow is? It can be used to shoot 50 arrows at once, and it can be said to be invincible on the battlefield. No matter how strong the opponent is or how good their martial arts are, once they shoot it, they will be turned into a hedgehog." Chunning smiled and said, "But it really is flashy. Can these 50 arrows all hit the target at once? When they are shot, won't they hit each other? So I said that even if we make 50 crossbows, it will still be a flashy product. How about we reduce it to 20 arrows? This way, we can guarantee the power and make the crossbow a bit lighter. What do you think, master?" It was like Guqingze's fog had been lifted and his eyes suddenly lit up. He heavily slapped his thigh again and shouted, "Not bad, not bad. Chin girl, your mind is really flexible. Why didn't your master think of this? 20 repeating crossbows are the most exquisite and powerful crossbows." As soon as his voice fell, he added, "Woo, even if you didn't say it, your master would have thought of it." Chunning couldn't help wanting to laugh. She turned her head, not letting Guqingze see the smile on her face. Men, they were all proud animals that cared about face. Even someone as proud as Guqingze was not an exception. If it was only 20 arrows, then it would be much easier. I can add a box on each side of the crossbow and use bamboo as the shaft, the most refined iron as the arrowhead, and the feathers from a pigeon's tail, since pigeon feathers are the lightest and most stable. As for the crossbow, using iron and copper is the strongest, but it will increase its weight. That's right, I can use iron and bamboo. This method is feasible. It's very feasible." Guqingze said this while looking up and closing his eyes to the sky. He began to imagine the process of making the 20 repeating crossbows in his mind. He felt like his mind was filled with inspiration like a spring, never ending. There was no lack of inspiration from the 5 repeating crossbows and the Juga repeating crossbows. He knew that this chance of inspiration would disappear, so he had to strike while the iron was hot. He had to think of all the advantages and disadvantages of these 20 repeating crossbows, making it into an incomparably powerful single-bow crossbow. Chunning saw Guqingze's expression and knew that he was thinking at the most critical moment, so she did not dare disturb him. She went out to bring a basin of hot water and a soft towel, gently wiping Chu Xiaobai's face. Chu Xiaobai's eyes slightly trembled. Chunning's heart skipped a beat. She held her breath as she looked at him without blinking and whispered in his ear, "Xiaobai." Now that his pulse was stable and strong, Even someone like her, who didn't know how to take a pulse, could feel it. She knew that Chu Xiaobai would get better and wake up. It was just a matter of time. But as long as he didn't wake up and regain consciousness, she couldn't be at ease. Hearing her call, Chu Xiaobai's eyelashes began to tremble again, just like the wings of a butterfly. Moreover, they kept moving as if they could open their eyes at any time. Chapter 1186. Xiao Bai. Was he finally going to wake up? Chen Ning found it hard to breathe, and her eyes couldn't help filling with tears. She softly called out, "Xiao Bai." Her voice was a bit choked up. Chu Xiao Bai's brows slowly knit together, and his face revealed a look of pain. He wanted to turn his head, but he couldn't move at all. He slightly opened his lips and let out a vague, painful murmur. Seeing this, even if Chen Ning didn't understand medicine, she knew that Chu Xiaobai was about to wake up. She was filled with joy and immediately wanted to call out to Gu Qingze. But when she turned around, she found that Gu Qingze was facing the sky and muttering to himself. She knew that he was at a critical point, and if she interrupted his train of thought at this time, it was very likely that all his efforts would be wasted. Xiaoru quickly called Dr. Zhang over. "Tell him that King Xiaobai is about to wake up." Chen Ning quickly walked out of the room and woke up Xiaoru, who was sitting on the steps in a daze. "Really?" Xiaoru suddenly jumped up and shouted, "I'll go immediately." She quickly charged into Dr. Zhang's room. Dr. Zhang, quickly wake up. My family's young miss said that King Jing and is about to wake up." Xiaoru forcefully shook Dr. Zhang's shoulder as she loudly shouted. Dr. Zhang was sleeping soundly. Hearing this, he couldn't help raising his beard and laughing as he said, "Is this old man dreaming? It seems like someone said that King Jing and is about to wake up. Woo, this dream is really good. This old man will continue dreaming." He turned over and continued to sleep soundly. Xiaoru anxiously stomped her feet and grabbed his beard, loudly saying, "Dr. Zhang, you're not dreaming. King Jing is about to wake up. My family's young miss wants you to immediately go and see." So painful. Dr. Zhang felt a sharp pain in his beard and finally woke up from his dream. He saw Xiaoru grabbing his beard and angrily said, "You little girl, why are you pulling this old man's beard while I'm asleep? Don't you know that this old man only has a bit of beard left? Every strand you pull off is one less. Little girl, you're not allowed to pull this old man's beard again." Xiaoru stuck out her tongue and said with a smile, "How could this servant dare pull an old man's beard again? It's King Jing and who is about to wake up, so my family's young miss is asking you to come over." King Jing and is about to wake up? This fast? Dr. Zhang's brows and beard moved as his face filled with joy. He jumped up from the bed and didn't even bother putting on his shoes as he ran barefoot towards Chu Xiaofang's room. He arrived in front of the bed and saw Chu Xiaobai lying on the bed. His brows were tightly knit and the corner of his mouth was twitching. He was muttering a few words with a painful expression, like he was struggling with something. "Dr. Zhang, quickly take a look. Xiaobai? Is he going to wake up?" Chen Ning's voice was filled with joy. She used her hand to cover her lips as she was filled with excitement. Her eyes were filled with tears. Dr. Zhang took Chu Xiaobai's pulse and revealed a smile. He said to Chen Ning, "Not bad. King Jing is indeed about to wake up." Xiaobai to Chen. To say, Ru Shado say, to Xiao, to say, I, to say, T to say, I, to I, and Shat, I, Shat. If Chu Xiaobai could really wake up and regain consciousness, this would simply be an unprecedented miracle in the history of medicine. This impossible miracle was happening right in front of his eyes. Although he did not personally participate, he had helped the divine doctor from his side, putting in quite a bit of effort. Chapter 1187. Chen Ning's heart was beating fast with excitement. She stared at Chu Xiaobai without blinking as she silently said in her heart, "Xiaobai, God bless you. You have to wake up. You have to wake up." Dr. Zhang was even more nervous. He kept taking Chu Xiaobai's pulse, and his palms kept sweating. Xiao Ru stood on the side with an excited expression, not daring to say anything or ask anything. But after a while, Chu Xiaobai still did not open his eyes. His trembling eyelashes slowly calmed down, as if he had fallen back into a deep sleep. Why is it like this? Wasn't he about to wake up just now? Dr. Zhang's face was filled with disappointment, and his heart was in his throat. He knew that there were many patients who had been unconscious for many days. If they showed signs of waking up, if they didn't wake up the first time, they would never wake up again. He was worried that Chu Xiaobai would be in a similar situation. Dr. Zhang, Xiaobai, what's wrong? Chen Ning knit her brows. Seeing Chu Xiaobai's calm expression, she had a bad feeling. Dr. Zhang shook his head. He didn't know if he should tell Chen Ning what he knew or not. He was hesitating, not knowing what to do, when he suddenly heard a strict voice from behind him. Why didn't you call me earlier? We missed the time when the patient was most likely to wake up. Gu Qingze walked over with large steps and pulled Dr. Zhang to the side. He placed his finger on Chu Xiaobai's pulse. Little girl Chun, write down the prescription. Gu Qingze quickly let go. His face was still as calm as before, making it hard for people to see through him. Dr. Zhang couldn't help asking, Divine Dr. Gu, can King Jing wake up? Gu Qingze rolled his eyes and snappily said, if he just stood there blowing air out of his nostrils and didn't do anything, he wouldn't wake up for the rest of his life. Dr. Zhang's old face turned red from embarrassment, but he was not angry at Gu Qingze at all. Rather, he felt that the divine doctor was right. He had been a doctor for several decades, but he only knew how to stand there in a daze and not do anything to save the patient. This was his fault no matter what. Gu Qingze quickly recited a prescription, and Chen Ning wrote it down. Old man, quickly take the medicine and bring it over. I'm going to help the patient with the acupuncture needles. Little girl Chun, carefully watch from the side. Gu Qingze said. Dr. Zhang took the prescription from Chen Ning's hands and immediately went to the medicine room on the side. Although he was eager to stay and watch Gu Qingze perform acupuncture, because it would definitely benefit him a lot, he did not dare to disobey Gu Qingze's orders. Not to mention that other than him, no one else could benefit from this. Gu Qingze's prescription even had a very detailed decoction process, which was very different from what he had learned before. Dr. Zhang knew that although he had only been with Gu Qingze for 2 days and 1 night, he had already obtained many benefits. It was something he could never learn in his lifetime. He was very envious of Chen Ning, actually having this kind of good luck to be accepted as a disciple by the ancient divine doctor. He sighed that he was born several decades earlier. In the room, Gu Qingze began to apply the needles on Chu Xiaobai while explaining to Chen Ning the effects of each needle, how much strength he used, and how much it penetrated into the flesh. He also taught her the acupuncture techniques without hiding anything. Chapter 1188. Chen Ning was completely focused on Gu Qingze's acupuncture technique. She memorized every single word he said in her heart. Although she didn't understand these words right now, once her medical skills improved, these would be very valuable experiences and summaries. She was secretly grateful to Gu Qingze. She had schemed against him before, but not only was he not angry at her, he even accepted her as his disciple and taught her all his medical skills. If she didn't study hard, she would be letting him down. Not long after, Gu Qingze finished applying the needles, and Dr. Zhang's medicine was sent in. Chen Ning did not wait for Gu Qingze's orders as she took the bowl of medicine. She blew on the medicine and fed it to Chu Xiaobai. Not long after taking the medicine, Chu Xiaobai had a reaction again. His hands by his side slowly clenched into fists, and his brows knit together again. His eyelashes kept trembling like he was desperately struggling. This stinky brat, he can clearly wake up, but his subconscious doesn't want to wake up. Humph, if you don't want to wake up, I'll make you wake up. Gu Qingze gave a snort and said to Chen Ning, Little girl Chun, he has the most reaction to your words. Continue calling his name. Chen Ning nodded and said in a soft voice, Xiaobai, do you still want to keep sleeping? Do you really not want to open your eyes and look at me? Then she saw Chu Xiaobai's clenched right hand slowly open like he wanted to grab something. So she reached out and grabbed his right hand. Chu Xiaobai's fingers trembled. His palm was hot, but his fingers were ice cold. The struggle on his face became even stronger. Stinky brat, wake up for me. In the blink of an eye, Gu Qingze suddenly made a move, and a shining golden needle pierced into the center of Chu Xiaobai's head. The struggling expression on Chu Xiaobai's face instantly calmed down. His brows relaxed, and he let out a long sigh. His expression became incomparably relaxed, like he had been woken up from a long sleep, but he still did not open his eyes. Little girl Chun, count to 3 and make him open his eyes. Gu Qingze pulled out the golden needle and gently said. He stared at Chu Xiaobai. This was the first time he had met such a stubborn patient. He could clearly wake up, but he was not willing to wake up. But he had a weapon in his hand to wake this brat up, which was his good disciple. He found that Chu Xiaobai could not resist Chen Ning's call at all. He could not wake him up, but Chen Ning could. Xiaobai, I know you can hear me, and you know I'm by your side. I will count to 3, and when I count to 3, you will open your eyes and look at me, all right? Chen Ning looked at Chu Xiaobai's calm face and said in a clear voice, 1. She clearly said. She said a number. Chun. Dr. Zhang and Xiao Ru's eyes were wide open as they looked at Chu Xiaobai without blinking. The two of them seemed to feel something. It was like when Chun Ning said the last number, they could see Chu Xiaobai open his eyes. 3. Chun Ning finally shouted out the last number. At this time, Chu Xiaobai, who had his eyes closed the entire time, raised his eyelashes and slowly opened his eyes. Seeing this, Dr. Zhang and Xiao Ru were both shocked. Their mouths fell open and their faces were filled with disbelief. It wasn't just Dr. Zhang and Xiao Ru. What they did not notice was that the doctor from the doctor yard had all arrived at an unknown time, personally seeing Chu Xiaobai wake up. Chapter 1189. It was unknown when Zhue Feng had appeared outside the door. Seeing Chu Xiaobai finally open his eyes, his originally expressionless face could not help revealing a look of excitement. He reached out a large palm and fiercely wiped his eyes. After taking a deep look at Chu Xiaobai, he turned around and left. King Jing and had finally woken up. This was good news. He had to immediately report it to the emperor. In the room, Chun Ning couldn't help crying tears of joy. Xiaobai, you're finally awake. The tears that had been in her eyes for a long time finally fell down, but they were tears of joy. Although Chu Xiaobai had opened his eyes, he was not completely awake yet. His eyes that were brighter than the stars in the sky were a bit hazy. When he heard Chun Ning's voice, his eyes slightly turned, and he looked in Chun Ning's direction. Seeing this, Gu Qingze couldn't help muttering, "Stinky brat." As soon as he opened his eyes, he wanted to see beautiful girls, but he did not even cast a glance at the doctor who had exhausted all his efforts to save him from the gates of hell. Chu Xiaobai's eyes fell onto Chun Ning's face, but his eyes were still hazy. His brows were slightly knit, like he did not recognize her. "Xiaobai, I'm here," Chun Ning said in a soft voice. Her eyes that were as gentle as water looked at him, and her smile was like a flower. Chu Xiaobai's eyes slightly opened. He struggled to raise his right hand, but it quickly fell back down. "Ninger, your poison has been cured." His lips slightly opened, and he spat out a few unclear words. Although it was just a few short words, it seemed like he had used all his strength, and his forehead was covered in sweat. The people present did not hear what he said, but Chun Ning could guess what he was saying. Her heart suddenly trembled, and her tears couldn't stop falling. Chu Xiaobai had just come back from the gates of hell, but the first thing he did was think about her poison. It could be seen just how important she was in his heart. Gu Qingze looked at Chun Ning with a thoughtful expression, but he did not say a word. "Xiaobai, my poison has been cured. It's all thanks to the snow ginseng soup you gave me that my poison has been cured. I'm very good now, so you have to get better too. Do you understand?" She wiped her tears and continued to smile at him. But it seemed like Chu Xiaobai did not hear her at all. After saying this one sentence, he slowly closed his eyes. His face was calm like he had fallen asleep. "Xiaobai, did you hear what I said? Xiaobai? Xiaobai." Chu Xiaoyang quietly closed his eyes and did not move at all. This time he did not respond to her call at all. Chen Ning's heart jumped into her throat. She immediately looked up at Gu Qingze and asked in a trembling voice, "Master, quickly look at Xiaobai. What's wrong with him? Could it be?" Her words were stuck in her throat. Dr. Zhang's face turned ashen from shock. He quickly went to take Chu Xiaobai's pulse, and then looked up with a strange expression on his face. Xiao 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 Xiao. Xiao Xiaobai shook his head with a look of disbelief, but he did not say a word. With Gu Qingze here, he did not dare casually make a judgment. He did not even believe his own judgment. "Divine Dr. Gu, why don't you take his pulse?" he respectfully said to Gu Qingze. Chapter 1190. Chen Ning understood his meaning when she heard this, and her heart that was stuck in her throat finally fell down. She said with a smile, "Is Master worried that I'll go back on my word? Since I called you Master, you will be my, Chen Ning's, Master for a lifetime." Gu Qingze revealed a faint smile and said, "I've finally done what I promised you. This brat won't die, and he has already woken up once, so his consciousness can be considered clear, so there won't be any major problems. However, the sword in his chest was too deep, and he lost too much blood, making his body very weak. He's really asleep now. Sleep is the best way for him to rest and recover. Once he's had enough sleep, he'll naturally wake up again. However, he'll probably sleep for a long time this time. Let's all go out and let him have a good sleep." He sat back in his chair and gently pushed the armrest, causing the chair to slowly slide out the door. Everyone quietly left the room, not making a single sound. Chen Ning was the last to leave. Before she left, she covered Chu Xiaobai with a blanket and looked at his sleeping face for a while. She let out a faint sigh from the bottom of her heart before turning to leave. The yard was filled with the doctors from the doctor yard. They had personally seen Chu Xiaobai go from death to life, and they were all greatly shocked. They looked at Gu Qingze with eyes filled with respect and worship. No one dared to look down on him at all because of his age. Don't look at how young he was. His medical skills were very high. It wouldn't be wrong to say that he was unfathomable. Gu Qingze did not care about the gazes of worship from the doctors at all. He gave a yawn and said to Chen Ning, "Little girl Chen, this master is tired. Find a quiet place for this master. This master wants to have a good sleep, and don't let anyone disturb me." Dr. Zhang immediately said, "There's a quiet room on the side that is where this old man usually rests. It is very quiet and very clean. If the divine Dr. Gu doesn't mind, how about you rest in that quiet room?" "That's fine." Gu Qingze gave a faint nod. At this time, the sunlight shined on his face, and Chen Ning found that his delicate and white face was filled with fatigue. There were dark circles under his eyes, and it could be seen that in these 2 days and 1 night, he had used up all his energy and did not sleep at all. He had been saving Chu Xiao by the entire time, so his heart was filled with gratitude and guilt. He was not related to Chu Xiaobai, but he had put in all his effort to save him. She had seen it all with her own eyes. She believed that there was no doctor like Gu Qingze. Even if it was his friends or family, he would not be able to do this. But Gu Qingze had done this for Chu Xiaobai. Why'd he do this? Was it just because he agreed to her condition? Chen Ning felt that she could not see through Gu Qingze at all. She pushed the chair and sent Gu Qingze into the quiet room. Gu Qingze turned the chair back into a couch. He quietly laid down and waved his hand at Chen Ning. "Chen girl, you should also leave." He tiredly closed his eyes. Chen Ning took a thin blanket and gently covered his body. "Master," her voice was stuck in her throat, and her heart was filled with endless gratitude. Chapter 1191. Chen Ning was thinking about this in her heart. She blinked, and before she could say anything, she saw Gu Qingze slowly open his eyes. Although his eyes were bloodshot, they were still filled with spirit. "Little girl Chen, I don't want any repayment from you. You just need to diligently study medicine with me. Firmly grasp everything I teach you and use what you learn. I hope that one day you can surpass your master, and when your medical skills surpass mine, that will be the best way for you to repay me. Do you understand? Gu Qingzi said in a sincere voice. It was strange. He was only a few years older than Chen Ning, but when he said these words, his tone was filled with age, making Chen Ning unable to hold back a smile. But she pursed her lips and replied with a serious expression, Yes, master. I will definitely study hard and not ruin master's reputation. Gu Qingzi unhappily said, Am I very old? Chen Ning giggled and said, Of course you're not old. Master is still young, just like the sun at 8 or 9 in the morning. Stop flattering me. Get out, get out. This master wants to rest. Gu Qingzi had a serious expression as he kicked her out. After Chen Ning left the room, he looked in the direction she left in. His lips curled into a faint smile. It was as if taking this smart disciple was the best decision he had made in his life. Hey, he believed that with her intelligence and photographic memory, in less than a year, she would be able to learn all of his medical skills. Next, it would depend on her actual practice. As for when she would be able to achieve mastery, that would depend on her ability to comprehend. But he was confident that the person he chose would not be wrong. This bet, he would definitely win it. Gu Qingzi closed his eyes and quickly fell into a deep sleep. When Chen Ning came out of Gu Qingzi's room, she saw Mo Chuan standing in the yard. His tall and straight figure was standing in front of Chu Xiaobai's window, looking through a small hole in the window. Hearing Chen Ning's footsteps, he suddenly turned around. Ning-er. His handsome face was filled with high spirits, and his eyes could not hide the joy in them. After receiving Zhue Feng's report, he immediately put down all his government affairs and rushed over from the palace without stopping. Dr. Zhang had reported Chu Xiaobai's current situation to him, allowing the stone in his heart to fall down. His eyes fell onto Chen Ning, and he found that she was wearing the clothes of a eunuch. He couldn't help being a bit surprised, but then he revealed a smile. He lovingly took off the hat on her head, revealing her dark cloud-like hair. Chen Ning looked at Chen Ning and said, Why are you this naughty girl? If you want to leave the palace, just openly leave. You are the empress. Who dares to stop you? Why are you dressed like this? Chen Ning did not have a smile on her face. She deeply looked at him and bit her lips, not saying a word. Xiaobai is finally getting better, so you should be happy. Why do you look so unhappy? Is there a change in Xiaobai's condition? Mo Chuan's heart immediately tightened. Mo Chuan's heart tightened. Chapter 1192. Mo Chuan asked. Xiaobai spoke. What did he say? Chen Ning hesitated for a bit before saying he had just woken up and his words were unclear, so no one could hear what he said. It seemed like he used a lot of strength, and after speaking, he immediately fell asleep. My master said that he had lost a lot of blood from his sword wound, so he needed some time to recover. Sleeping is the best way for him to recover, so when he wakes up, you can go in and see him. Let's not disturb his rest right now. Mo Chuan nodded and held her hand. He found that her fingertips were a bit cold and said, It's fine if you dress up as a eunuch to leave the palace, but why don't you wear more clothes? Chen Ning did not reply. She suddenly looked up and stared at him. Mo Chuan, I have something to say to you. She had a serious expression. Is it about Xiao Bai? No, it's not. She shook her head. Mo Chuan's dark and deep eyes fell onto her face, silently, not making a sound. It was like he had already guessed what she wanted to say. Dr. Zhang and the other doctors had already moved away. There were only the two of them in the courtyard now. But with Mo Chuan's cultivation, he could naturally hear the breathing of quite a few people around them. He looked around before slowly opening his mouth. If you have anything to say, you can say it after we return to the palace. Say it after we return to the palace? Will you give me a chance to speak? Mo Chuan, why did you poke my sleep acupuncture point last night? Chen Ning looked at him without blinking. She was not stupid at all. She had not finished what she wanted to say last night, so she would not fall asleep like that. It must have been Mo Chuan who had secretly poked her sleep acupuncture point, but his movements were very light and clever, so she did not notice it all. The reason he did this was because he did not want to hear the truth from her mouth. He did not want to hear her reveal the final mystery. Imo Chuan deeply stared at her. She was like a porcupine staring back at him, not flinching at all. Ning, are you asking me why? He calmly said, you went out for this long and did not rest at all because of Xiao Bai's matter. Do you think my heart would ache? I just wanted you to have a good sleep, that's all. His face was the same as usual when he spoke, without any expression. But his calm expression could fool anyone, but it could not fool Chen Ning. Whether he was telling the truth or lying, Chen Ning could already tell from the clues that were revealed on his face. She lowered her head without saying a word, and an indescribable feeling appeared in her heart. This was the first time he hadn't told her the truth since they'd met. I don't want to go back to the palace. I want to stay here and take care of Xiao Bai until he wakes up, Chen Ning quietly said. She suddenly did not want to say anything else. When she had just woken up this morning, she had felt a sense of belonging to Guan Osprey Palace. But now, she just felt that it was ridiculous because she didn't want to go back to that home at all. That was home. It was nothing but a beautifully built cage. It was cold and had no warmth, only lies. She had thought that she and Imo Chuan were honest with each other, but she never thought that there would be a day when Imo Chuan would lie to her. As for the reason why he was lying, Chen Ning was well aware. She did not want to ask because the answer would make her very disappointed. Chapter 1193. If it was like this, she might as well stay here and take care of Chu Xiao Bai. Compared to Imo Chuan, Xiao Bai's heart was as clear as crystal because he had never lied to her before. Imo Chuan saw the indifferent expression on her face, and his heart filled with pain. He gritted his teeth and said, Ninger, with the ancient divine doctor here, Xiao Bai will definitely get better. Come back to the palace with me. We can slowly talk about this in the palace. I don't want to go back to the palace. Chen Ning looked up and looked right into his eyes, clearly saying this. Why? Imo Chuan's brows knit together and his voice became stern. The palace is your home. Ning, don't forget your identity. Chu Xiao Bai does not need your care. His majesty as a person of high status unconsciously exuded. He. Chen Ning couldn't help giving a cold laugh. Is the emperor angry? People who don't know would think that the emperor is jealous. She had never used this kind of cynical tone to talk to him before. But when she thought of his actions, she couldn't help it. Even if Chu Xiaoyang was evil beyond redemption, Imo Chuan shouldn't have used this kind of despicable method to deal with him. Imo Chuan raised his brows and grabbed her wrist. He gritted his teeth and said, That's right. I'm jealous of Chu Xiao Bai. Ning, you've done too much for him. So much that even your husband is envious of him. I'm even thinking that it would be great if I was the one lying unconscious on this bed. You would personally feed me medicine and porridge. I really wish that I could be in a different place from him. These words had been suppressed in his heart for a long, long time. Every time he saw her look at Chu Xiao Bai, there would be a poisonous snake called jealousy stirring in his heart. But he couldn't say a single word. He couldn't even show the slightest bit of jealousy. Because Chu Xiao Bai's life was in danger, it was all because of her. She did all of this just to repay him. Even if he knew that her heart was with him, seeing her worry and worry for another man, he would still feel jealous. If it wasn't for the fact that he had been provoked by her today and his mood fluctuated, he would not have said these words, because this would make him seem too narrow-minded. But facing his feelings, he could not pretend to be magnanimous. He hoped that her gentle eyes would only be for him, and he would only be for him in her heart. Imo Chuan. Chen Ning's heart violently trembled. Her eyes opened wide as she looked at him in disbelief. It was clear that she didn't believe these words had come from his mouth. The resentment and dissatisfaction she felt for him flew away, and her eyes filled with tenderness. For a proud man like Imo Chuan to say these words, it could be seen just how important he was in his heart. Well, what did she care? So what if he lied to her? His heart, Imo well as he could well. Imo Chuan's eyes flashed with a trace of passion. He turned his eyes away and did not look at her. He was already regretting saying these words. He had actually said all of his true thoughts. She would definitely look down on him and despise him. He was afraid that if he stayed a bit longer, he would do something even more spineless and say even more spineless things. He was afraid that if he stayed any longer, he would do something even more spineless and say even more spineless words. Chapter 1194. Mo Chuan's footsteps stopped, but he did not turn around. "I'll go back to the palace with you." Chen Ning placed her hand in his. She looked up and revealed a faint smile to him. Her smile was like a flower blooming. It was as bright as the sun, as if all the flowers in the courtyard were blooming. Mo Chuan's mood became more cheerful as her smile bloomed. "We're not in a rush to go back to the palace. I'll take you to a place first." He tightly held her hand. The ice on his face melted like a spring breeze, turning into the warmth of spring. This made Zhu Feng, who was hiding in the shadows, let out a sigh of relief. Although he did not show himself, the tense atmosphere in the air made it hard for him to breathe. Chen Ning nodded with a faint smile, but she did not ask where Mo Chuan was taking her, because wherever he went, she would follow. Tai floor. When she saw the familiar restaurant in front of her, her heart filled with a warm feeling. The two of them could be said to be fated with each other because of this restaurant, so they could be considered frequent customers of Tai floor. Only ever since the two of them opened their hearts, they had never come here again. It's been a long time since I've eaten those dishes you thought of. It's rare for us to leave the palace today, so how could we miss this kind of delicacy?" Mo Chuan revealed a faint smile as he pulled her hand to the door. After a few days, Tai floor had already doubled in size. They had even turned the drunken immortal house across from them into their own property. Even though it was like this, there was still a long line of customers coming to eat. When the two of them entered the door, they saw the shopkeeper behind the counter with a single glance. The shopkeeper still had an old face. When he saw Mo Chuan and Chen Ning, he couldn't help being shocked by Mo Chuan's appearance. He knew that they were honored guests and did not dare neglect them. He quickly came out from behind the counter and personally received them. Only he did not recognize that this black-clothed youth with a noble aura was a guest that he had visited several times. He did not even look at Chen Ning beside Mo Chuan. He looked over and saw that Chen Ning was wearing a eunuch uniform, so he thought that she was a eunuch from the palace. As for the young master beside her, his identity was definitely not normal. "Two esteemed guests, welcome to Tai floor. It's just that our store is already full. Would you like to?" Before the shopkeeper could finish, Mo Chuan had already thrown a gold ingot into his chest. "Third floor." After saying this, he led Chen Ning to the third floor in a familiar manner. After coming to the Tai floor a few times, he and Chen Ning knew that there was a room on the third floor that was specially used to receive guests. It was very elegant and comfortable, but this room was often empty. "Dear customers, please wait a moment." Dear customers, the third floor, the private room on the third floor is currently occupied. The innkeeper hurriedly caught up from behind. Mo Chuan ignored him and threw another gold ingot into the shopkeeper's chest. This is enough," he said in a deep voice. The shopkeeper held the two heavy gold ingots, and his eyes narrowed into a smile. He was very knowledgeable, so naturally he knew what Mo Chuan meant. "Two guests, please wait a moment. This little one will move the guests to another room and clean the room before inviting you two in." He bowed as he spoke to Mo Chuan. Then he quickly went to the third floor. Chapter 1195. Mo Chuan tapped the tip of her nose and said with a faint smile, "That room's meaning is different. Last time, it was in that room that you tricked me. Did you forget?" His cold and stiff face revealed a gentle smile. At that time, he had hidden his true identity and lied about being an assassin. With how smart she was, she didn't doubt it at all and even invited him to stay by her side to protect her. She didn't know that this was exactly what he wanted. Chen Ning also remembered the scene at that time, and her face turned slightly red. She angrily said, "Mo Chuan, it was clearly you who lied to me. When did I trick you?" Mo Chuan's lips curled. Before he could say anything, he suddenly heard the angry scolding of a young girl coming from upstairs. "Your dog eyes are blind, actually daring to make me give up my room. Scram! Take your stinky money and scram." Following that, Mo Chuan and Chen Ning saw the shopkeeper roll down the stairs like a ball. Mo Chuan reached out to push his shoulder, and the shopkeeper finally stopped rolling. He climbed up from the ground, but his face was already swollen from the fall. "Shopkeeper, were you beaten by someone?" Chen Ning's sharp eyes saw that there was a clear whip mark on the right side of the shopkeeper's face. "It's all because this little one doesn't know how to speak and made the esteemed guest in the private room angry. It's fine, it's fine." The shopkeeper covered the wound on his face. Although it was hard to bear the pain, he had a face of forbearance. It was clear that he knew that the person in the private room on the third floor was someone he couldn't offend. He didn't want to make a big deal out of this and just wanted to keep the peace. He gave the 2 gold ingots back to Mo Chuan with a bitter smile. "To esteemed guests, I'm truly sorry. I'll have to ask you two to eat somewhere else." Mo Chuan did not take it, and his cold eyes looked in the direction of the third floor. The shopkeeper's expression was filled with fear, nervousness, and unease. He did not dare offend the person upstairs, and the person in front of him was not easy to offend. He felt like his head was about to explode. Chen Ning thought that everything was first come, first served. Mo Chuan making the third-floor people give up their room was their loss, although the other side's actions were a bit rude. She pulled on Mo Chuan's sleeve and said in a soft voice, "Let's go, they came first." Mo Chuan gave a snort. As the emperor, he had always been able to get whatever he wanted. Today, he couldn't even get a room to eat in and was even ridiculed in public. Chen Ning gave an apologetic smile to the shopkeeper. "I'm very sorry. It was our request that made the shopkeeper feel wronged. Take these 2 ingots of gold and treat them as money for your injuries. We'll come back another day." The shopkeeper let out a sigh of relief. Not caring about the pain, he had a smile on his face. The 2 honored guests understand this lowly one's difficulties. This lowly one is truly grateful. How could this lowly one dare to accept this gold? "Please take it. Of the 2 of you too." Ning nodded of Chun. Chun of Chun of Chun of. "I like to see which filthy thief has the guts to make me give up my room. Of the Chun of King of the King!" exclamation point. Suddenly, the crisp voice of a young girl rang out from upstairs. Then, a black shadow of a whip came down like a poisonous snake. The shopkeeper covered his face and tears came out of his eyes from the pain, but he bowed to the second floor. The shopkeeper covered his face with his hands. He was in so much pain that tears were flowing out, but he bowed and apologized to the people upstairs. Chapter 1196. The shopkeeper said this while looking at Chen Ning and Mo Chuan, telling them to quickly leave. Chen Ning never thought that the guest upstairs would be so arrogant. Her brows knit together and her face revealed an angry expression. At this moment, with a schwa sound, a whip shadow smashed down on Chen Ning's head. This attack was fast and fierce, coming at a strange speed. Chen Ning felt the wind above her head, but she did not have time to dodge at all. With this whip falling down, her skin would definitely be split open and her head would bleed. Such a ruthless woman. Mo Chuan suddenly gave a cold shout. His right hand reached out with 2 fingers and caught the whip. Then he pulled it into his chest, and the woman on the stairs felt her wrist tremble. She could no longer hold on to the whip, and it flew out of her hand. How bold! Where did this dog come from, daring to steal my whip? Someone, take them down for me and beat them to death. The woman's eyebrows rose as she shouted out through gritted teeth. As soon as her voice fell, several blue-clothed servants immediately charged down the stairs. Each one of them was agile, and they surrounded Mo Chuan and Chen Ning. Even the shopkeeper was in the middle. The shopkeeper's face turned ashen, and his body trembled like a sieve. He held his head with both hands and curled up into a ball. These servants were all skilled. Seeing that Mo Chuan and Chen Ning were only 2 people, they did not place them in their eyes at all. Although they had weapons on their waists, they did not pull them out and just charged at Mo Chuan and Chun Ning. The whip in Mo Chuan's hand flew out. It was as light as a feather, and it was as flexible as a snake in the air. Only with each whip, there would be a servant falling to the ground, letting out pitiful cries like a pig being slaughtered. Each whip of Mo Chuan's was filled with internal energy. When it hit their bodies, it was so deep that their bones could be seen. Although it was not fatal, it made their hearts ache. In the blink of an eye, more than a dozen servants fell to the ground, rolling around and screaming in pain. The shopkeeper was stunned. His eyes opened wide as he looked at the scene in front of him in disbelief. My mother, is this black-clothed young master an immortal? Or a monster? He shouted in his heart. When the girl upstairs saw this, she was so angry that her brows knit together. She shouted in a sharp voice, "Where did this bastard come from, daring to hit my people? Do you know who I am? I am the Zhao Rong princess. I am the emperor's cousin." With a pudong sound, the shopkeeper's legs turned soft, and he knelt on the ground. If he knew this earlier, even if he had 120 guts, he would not have dared to ask the Zhao Rong princess to give him a room. If he knew this earlier, even if he had 120 guts, he would not have dared to go. If he knew this earlier, even if he had 120 guts, he would not have Zhao princess. Away. This lowly one did not know that Zhao Rong region princess had arrived and did not go out to welcome you. This lowly one was blind and offended the region princess. I beg the region princess to show mercy and spare this lowly one's life. Chun Ning felt that the arrogant and wild voice of the girl upstairs was very familiar, but now she suddenly remembered. It was. Her lips slightly curled up, and she revealed a sarcastic smile. She had shown mercy last time and only taught her a small lesson. She never thought that after a few days, she would still be this rude, using the title of a princess to hurt people. Chapter 1197. The Zhaorong princess curled her lips and walked down the stairs. She pointed at Mo Chuan and Chun Ning and arrogantly said, "Are you two deaf? Didn't you hear who this princess is? Why aren't you kneeling down and begging for mercy for this princess? If this princess is in a good mood, perhaps I'll spare your dog lives." She walked down a few steps and coldly looked at Mo Chuan and Chun Ning. Suddenly, her expression changed. Her originally cold and arrogant expression suddenly froze, as if she had seen something unbelievable. Chun Ning looked over and found that it was the embroidered clothed girl she had met on the way here. The expression on her face was just as annoying as last time. She was wearing a large red embroidered robe with a golden phoenix embroidered on it. It sparkled, and at first glance, it looked like a fire-red phoenix. Her expression was also as proud as a phoenix. But all of her arrogance had a large change when she saw Mo Chuan. "Biao, cousin?" The Zhaorong princess' eyes opened wide in disbelief as she looked at Mo Chuan in a daze. Mo Chuan coldly looked at her, not saying a word and not showing any expression on his face at all. The Zhaorong princess rubbed her eyes, suspecting that her eyes were playing tricks on her. Why would the emperor's cousin appear here? But when her eyes swept over Chun Ning beside Mo Chuan, she did not notice Chun Ning's appearance at all. She only saw that she was wearing the clothes of a eunuch and confirmed that the one she was looking at was the emperor's cousin. She was surprised and happy. She didn't care about going down the stairs one step at a time. With a light leap, she landed in front of Mo Chuan. "Cousin, don't you recognize me? I'm Ronger." Her hands tightly grabbed Mo Chuan's hand as she excitedly shouted in a loud voice. She was not stupid. She saw that Mo Chuan had come out of the palace incognito, so she did not call him emperor. But calling him cousin like this made it seem like she was very close to Mo Chuan. Chun Ning's eyes looked at her and then at Mo Chuan. She was thinking that Mo Chuan actually had this kind of cousin. She had never heard him mention it before. But seeing the Zhaorong princess' unruly temper, Mo Chuan probably would not like her. She did not say a word and just waited to watch the show. As expected, Mo Chuan slightly knit his brows. He let go of Zhaorong's hand and coldly looked at her. That cold gaze made most of the excitement on Zhao Rong's face disappear. She shrank her neck under Imo Chuan's gaze and took a small step back. She said in a small voice, "Cousin Ronger is back. Are you not happy to see me?" Her voice had a trace of grievance in it. Her large eyes blinked as if she was about to cry. Imo Chuan said in a cold voice, "Ronger is back. Are you not happy to see me?" Chuan said in a cold voice, "You come back and cause trouble. Who told you to?" The Zhaorong princess pursed her lips and followed Imo Chuan's gaze. Seeing that he was looking at Chun Ning, she said with a face of disdain, "He's just a little eunuch, so what if he's injured? I'll give him a bit more money to recover. It's not like he'll die." Rong rong rong, Chun rong rong up. "Long have Ru, IRTC. Ru Ning," she said. "Rong Seymour." She seemed the more the more she seemed. Ning Chun RT Xiao. The more she spoke, the more aggrieved she became. Her eyes were filled with tears. She said, he said, and her, she became more as. She as a she mo. Chapter 1198. Chun Ning coldly watched from the side. She could already see that the way Zhao Rong looked at Imo Chuan was not normal. It was filled with love and was as gentle as water. In front of Imo Chuan, she turned from a leopard baring its fangs into a docile little sheep. But she was not jealous because she knew that Imo Chuan would not like this girl. Imo Chuan raised his hand and Zhao Rong could not get close to him. Zhao Rong was stunned. She looked at Imo Chuan in a daze and said in a surprised voice, "Cousin, why are you so cold to me? Could be you don't like Rong anymore. Do you still remember when we were young? You would carry me every day and bring me to the royal garden to pick fruits to eat? You gave the biggest and reddest fruits to me. You. Look at me carefully. I am Ronger, the Rong. Oh, you loved the most when we were young." Imo Chuan ignored her. He did not even want to look at her, feeling very dissatisfied with her in his heart. That sudden whip attack had almost injured Chun Ning. If his reaction had been a bit slower, the one who would have been beaten to a pulp would have been the person he cared about the most. How could he talk to the Zhao Rong princess in a nice voice? Not to mention that he had not thought about her at all in these 3 years. When she appeared, she acted willfully and acted recklessly. If it wasn't for her father's face, he really would have taught her a lesson. "Ninger, let's go." He pulled Chun Ning's hand and turned to walk down the stairs. "Cousin, wait a minute." The Zhaorong princess was ignored. She was filled with rage as she glared at Chun Ning's back. With her temper, she naturally did not dare explode in front of Imo Chuan, so she vented all of her anger on Chun Ning. It was just a little eunuch. The emperor's cousin ignored her and affectionately pulled the little eunuch's hand. But this little eunuch was very bold. Not only did he not dodge, he allowed his cousin to pull him down the stairs. Her stomach was about to explode from anger. Imo Chuan pretended like he did not hear it and continued walking down the stairs. Chun Ning turned around and made a face at the Zhao Rong princess. The Zhao Rong princess' anger was not small at all. She was filled with anger and took out 3 flying knives from a bag on her waist, shooting them at Chun Ning's upper, middle, and lower body. So. The flying knives gave off an ear-piercing sound. "Gong Gong, be careful." Seeing this, the shopkeeper couldn't help but warn. At the same time, he closed his eyes, thinking that it was over. That little eunuch would have 3 holes poked through his body. If this little eunuch were to die, it would be like poking a hole in the sky. His floor of Tai he would probably have to close down. In an instant, Imo Chuan suddenly turned around and waved his sleeve. A gust of wind blew out, and the 3 flying knives lost their aim, falling to the ground. But he never thought that these 3 flying knives were just Zhao Rong's trick, wanting Imo Chuan to make a move. She already had a flying knife in her hand. Taking advantage of Imo Chuan waving his sleeve, she threw it at the back of Chun Ning's head. Chun Ning's Chun Ning. Chuan Ning's heart. The shopkeeper had just recovered from the shock, but he was so shocked that his legs went soft and he fell on the ground. The Zhaorong princess move was completely out of Imo Chuan's expectations. When he found out that something was wrong, the flying knives were already 3 inches away from Chun Ning's head. It was already too late. He forcefully pulled her, and Chun Ning fell into his embrace. Chapter 1199. So, it's a girl. The shopkeeper rubbed his eyes and was surprised to see that the little eunuch had turned into a beautiful young girl. Moreover, she looked a bit familiar, like he had seen her before. Zhaorong Princess was completely stunned. She looked at Chun Ning in a daze, and after a while, she finally recognized her. So it's you. You liar, give me back my carriage. When she recognized Chun Ning, her eyes seemed like they were about to spit out flames. She gritted her teeth and looked like she wanted to swallow Chun Ning alive. A thick hatred was released from her body. Thinking of how she had been tricked by this girl in front of her, actually using the carriage she had spent a large amount of money to exchange with the other party. In the end, not only did the carriage hurt her, but Zhue Feng had also used his hidden strength to turn her carriage into a pile of rotten wood. She had used a wicker basket to draw water for nothing. She had lost both her carriage and her face. In the end, it was all because of this girl in front of her. So when she saw Chun Ning, it was like seeing her father's killer. She wanted to skin the other party alive. Chun Ning giggled at her and said, "That carriage was something you were willing to exchange with me." I said no, but you insisted. AI, if it wasn't for you being pitiful, I really wouldn't have been willing to exchange with you. That's right, miss. Your carriage is fast and stable. It's much more comfortable than my carriage. It's really strange that there is such a stupid person in this world, actually willing to exchange such a good carriage for my carriage. Hee hee. She even winked at the Zhaorong Princess in an infuriating manner. The situation just now was extremely dangerous. If it wasn't for Mo Chuan saving her in time, the back of her head would have been pierced by the Zhaorong Princess flying knife. She did not have any deep grudges with her. She had just punished her a bit and tricked her into giving her a carriage. This girl actually wanted her life as soon as she made a move. No matter how good Chun Ning's temper was, she couldn't help feeling disgusted with the Zhaorong Princess. Naturally, she would say anything that angered her. Her eloquence was amazing. Her words were like pouring oil onto a fire. Zhaorong Junju felt like her chest was about to explode. Cousin, why do you want to protect her? Let go of her, I will definitely kill her today. The Zhaorong Princess' eyes turned red. She gritted her teeth as she picked up the black whip that Mo Chuan had thrown away and threw it at Chun Ning without a care. She did not aim at all and just used all her strength. The whip did not make any sound at all as it flew at Chun Ning like a poisonous snake. If you keep causing trouble, then don't blame me for being impolite. Mo Chuan knit his brows, and he couldn't. He reached out with his right hand and easily grabbed the tip of the long whip. With his inner force, the long whip broke into pieces and fell to the ground. There was only an empty whip handle in the Zhao held. Seeing Mo Chuan protecting Chun Ning like this, the hatred in her heart deepened. She gritted her teeth and took out a flying knife from her bag. So. Several 10 flying knives charged at Chun Ning's face. She hated Chun Ning's face. She must have used this face to confuse her cousin. That's why her cousin would protect her like this. She hated it. No matter what, she would destroy that face that was prettier than her own. Mo Chuan's expression finally changed. He could smell a faint stench coming from the tip of his nose. There was actually a strong poison on these several dozen flying knives. Chapter 1200. Mo Chuan gave a sharp roar. He could block these flying knives, but with the flying knives flying around, perhaps he would accidentally injure other people. Their noisy fight on the stairs had already attracted a large group of onlookers, who surrounded the upper and lower floors to watch the fun. He swept his gaze across and saw a heavy leather pouch on the shopkeeper's waist. He immediately stretched out his hand and tore the leather pouch, causing copper coins to fall to the ground with a ding, ding, dang, dang sound. At this time, Mo Chuan was already holding a copper coin in his hand, and he threw it at the flying knives. With a zhung, zhung, zhung sound, Each flying knife was broken in half and fell to the floor. Everyone was stunned seeing this. If they didn't see it with their own eyes, who would have believed that these small copper coins could break the blades of the flying knives? This black-clothed young master's martial arts were very deep. Could it be that he was one of the legendary martial artists? But he was also this young. Everyone looked at Mo Chuan with a respectful gaze. They were not used to the Zhao Rong princess arrogance, so they all loudly cheered for Mo Chuan. Good hit. It's so satisfying just watching. A girl like her, who was born without a mother, should be taught a lesson. There were a few customers who came late and did not hear the Zhao Rong princess introduce herself. They did not know that the other side was the Zhao Rong princess, so they spoke without restraint. The Zhao Rong princess' eyes seemed like they were about to spit out flames. Hearing everyone's mocking her, she fiercely looked at the people around her. Do you not want to live anymore? How dare you insult this princess? This princess will chop off your heads one by one. She cursed in a flustered and exasperated manner. Someone in the crowd whispered, Shoo, she is the Zhao Rong princess, a person we can't offend. Hearing this, the crowd that was originally filled with mocking laughter immediately became silent, and no one dared to say another word. The person from before pulled back his head and hid in the crowd, silently slipping away. God, how could he have known that the other side was the Zhao Rong princess? He had actually insulted her parents. The Zhao Rong princess was the emperor's cousin. Insulting the Zhao Rong princess was the same as insulting the emperor. Insulting the emperor, this was equivalent to losing your head. If he didn't leave now, when would he? The Zhao Rong princess saw that she had stunned everyone with a single sentence, and her proud face revealed a proud look. She pointed at Chen Ning with one hand and placed the other hand on her waist as she shouted, Quickly come over and kowtow to this princess. Don't think that this princess will forgive you just because my cousin is protecting you. You lied to this princess and almost caused this princess to lose her life. Don't think this princess will let you go. She saw Mo Chuan protect Chen Ning in his embrace with an intimate expression. Although the other side was wearing the clothes of a eunuch, she could not hide her elegant and refined appearance. She was filled with jealousy and jealousy. Chen Ning blinked at her, but before she could say anything, Zhao Mo Chuan. Chen eyes. The one who should kowtow and apologize is you. Zhao Rong, come over and apologize to her. You have acted viciously and tried to take her life again and again. Do you know your wrongs? His voice was severe, and his icy gaze stared at Zhao Rong Junju. Princess Zhao Rong could not believe her ears. Chapter 1201. Zhao Rong princess glared at Chen Ning with a murderous gaze, wishing she could dig 2 holes in the other side's face. Her chest was heaving up and down from her anger. Cousin, don't be fooled by this fox spirit's appearance. You don't know it all, but she has a vicious heart and is full of tricks. Rong met her on the way back to the capital, and she saw that Rong Er's carriage was good, so she used flowery words to trick Rong into swapping it with her broken carriage. Later, Rong saw through her trick and asked her to return the carriage, but she actually ordered her subordinates to attack Rong. She injured all my subordinates, and she almost took Rong Er's life. Cousin, don't you love Rong the most? Why are you scolding Rong for a fox spirit after not seeing her for 3 years? You hurt Rong Er's heart too much. She was angry and anxious as tears began to fall from her eyes. Mo Chuan did not know that Chen Ning had met her on the road, but he believed in Chen Ning. If this really happened, it would be Zhao Rong causing trouble, and it wouldn't be Chen Ning provoking her first. But if she dared to provoke Ning, the one to suffer would be her. Today's matter, it was clearly your fault. You randomly attack people, and you still dare to quibble. Zhao Rong, did Duke Ning teach you like this? His tone was already very strict, and his words were merciless. He had already endured her for Duke Ning's sake, not making it too hard for her. But if she continued to be this aggressive, Mo Chuan did not mind teaching her a lesson on behalf of her father. He had watched Zhao Rong princess grow up, and he had always treated her like his own sister. He was strict when he needed to be strict, and he would discipline her when he needed to. So Zhao Rong Princess loved and feared him since she was young. She dared to go against her father Duke Ning's words, but she listened to Mo Chuan's words. She was as obedient as a mouse meeting a cat. He never thought that after not seeing her for 3 years, the willful and innocent little girl from the past would become a completely different person. If he didn't see it with his own eyes, Mo Chuan would not have believed that this ruthless girl in front of him was the little tail that followed behind him in the past. Although Zhao Rong had grown from a 12 or 13-year-old girl to a slender and elegant young girl, in Mo Chuan's eyes, she would always be a little girl that needed to be disciplined. He did not care about her at all. Cousin, you're helping outsiders bully me and Rong you don't love Rong anymore. You don't love Rong anymore. Princess Zhao Rong first widened her eyes in disbelief. Then, she stomped her feet and began to cry loudly. She cried became more and more sad as her tears flowed out. This was because she knew that with Mo Chuan protecting Chen Ning, she wouldn't be able to escape. Her subordinates had all been beaten down by Mo Chuan, and her whip and throwing knives had all been destroyed by Mo Chuan. Xiao Chun, I Ning have Rong, I can't beat. What's so good about this stinking vixen? Isn't it just that she has a pretty face? Cousin Rong I didn't expect you to be such a shallow person. How could you be captivated by beauty? Stinky vixen, one day I'll dig your eyeballs out to vent the hatred in my heart. She cried while viciously cursing Chen Ning. If it wasn't for this vixen, her cousin had always loved her the most. So how could he bear to scold her? Chapter 1202. Chen Ning listened with a smile, not being angry at all. With Mo Chuan here, she knew that the Zhao Rong princess would not do anything to her. Hey, little girl, your cousin said to kowtow to me as an apology. Are you deaf? Do you think you can get away with pretending to cry? Quickly come and kowtow to me. If you can make a sound, I'll forgive your sins. Her words were like pouring a spoonful of cold water on a pot of hot oil. It made Zhao Rong Junju so angry that she was like a Buddha in heaven and 2 Buddhas in the world. Her tears were quickly burned dry by her anger. You little slut, who do you think you are? You want this princess to kowtow to you? Go reincarnate in your next life. The Zhao Rong princess began to curse. Smelly vixen, cheap slut. The more she cursed, the worse it sounded. Chen Ning giggled and dug her ears. The respected Zhao Rong princess is actually spouting such filthy words. Aren't you afraid of losing your status? This kind of ugly words, even if you don't mind dirtying your mouth, I'd rather mind dirtying my ears. The Zhao Rong princess was so angry that her eyes turned black, and she almost fainted. She gritted her teeth so hard that they creaked, and the temples on her forehead throbbed with pain. She had never met such a hateful and infuriating person in her life. This was simply angering her to death. She was so angry that she couldn't say a single word. She could only stare at Chen Ning, using her eyes to torture her. Chen Ning did not care at all. She smiled as she pulled Mo Chuan's hand. Mo Chuan, let's go. The air here doesn't smell good. Woo, it's simply unbearably smelly. She raised her hand to fan it in front of her nose, revealing a disgusted expression. Her meaning was clear that she was disgusted with the Zhao Rong princess' unbearably smelly fart. The surrounding people couldn't help breaking out in laughter. They copied her and fanned their noses, saying, "So smelly, so smelly." Mo Chuan almost couldn't help laughing. He looked at her with a loving and pampering gaze and rubbed her hair. He said with a nod, "All right, let's go." He thought that Ning really had a way. With just a few words, she was able to make the Zhao Rong princess turn into a steamed bun. For someone like Zhao Rong Junju, who was crafty and unruly when she met Ning, she was at a disadvantage. In front of so many customers, he didn't want to reveal his identity. He didn't want to reveal Chen Ning's identity to avoid unnecessary trouble. Since he had achieved his goal of teaching the Zhao Rong princess a lesson, he was not willing to stay here any longer. The Zhao Rong princess' face turned pale. Her hatred for Chun Ning had already reached its peak. How could she let her leave like this? Her hatred for Chun Ning had already reached its peak. So how could she let her leave like this? She had been angered by Chun Ning, but when Mo Chuan and Chun Ning walked down the stairs and arrived at the entrance of the Taihe floor, she finally came back to her senses. She quickly ran down the stairs. She jumped out and opened her arms, blocking in front of Chun. "Little slut, you want to run?" "No way." Chun Ning saw that she was not going to give up and was not going to stop, so she raised her brows. "Who are you cursing, little bitch?" she suddenly asked. "The little slut is cursing you," Zhao Junju blurted out without thinking. Chun Ning pursed her lips into a smile and said, "That's right, the little slut is cursing me." Her smile was like a flower bud blooming. Mo Chuan also gave her a gentle smile, secretly praising her wit. The surrounding guests couldn't hold back as they broke out in laughter. Chapter 1203. Good little slut, daring to scold this princess in a roundabout way. This princess will tear your mouth apart. The Zhaorong princess opened her hands and threw herself at Chun Ning. Chun Ning nimbly dodged, and her hand gently pushed at her waist. Zhaorong princess felt her body go soft, and she fell forward against her will. She knew martial arts, and Chun Ning had only learned a few modern fighting techniques. If the two of them really fought, Chun Ning would not be her match at all. But the techniques Chun Ning had learned focused on using softness to overcome hardness, using cleverness to gain strength. She was most proficient in sneak attacks and catching people off guard. The Zhaorong princess only knew how to take back her fists. How could she compare to Chun Ning's nimbleness? Adding in the fact that she thought Chun Ning did not know martial arts, she did not place Chun Ning in her eyes at all, so she fell for it. She could not stand still and actually fell down the stairs. Mo Chuan just coldly looked at her, not thinking of helping her up at all. He thought that letting this unruly girl suffer a bit was good, teaching her a lesson so that she wouldn't hurt people again and cause a disaster. The fact that he did not personally teach her a lesson was already giving face to her father, Duke Ning. The Zhaorong princess closed her eyes in fright and let out a scream. She thought that she would have a swollen face from falling down and she would be in a sorry state. Who would have thought that when she fell down, she would feel something soft under her and not be injured at all? She reached out her hand and felt a human face. Her heart filled with joy as she shouted, "Cousin, you're really good. I knew you would save me." Opening her eyes in surprise and joy, the Zhaorong princess was instantly stunned. She saw that she was currently lying in the arms of a beggar. That beggar's clothes were filled with holes, and his face was covered in dirt. He had been lying on the steps, bathing in the sun and catching lice, while watching the commotion in front of the restaurant. Who would have thought that the Zhaorong princess would fall into his arms, causing his chest to hurt? The broken bowl on the steps had also been smashed into pieces by the Zhaorong princess. The beggar instantly flew into a rage out of shame and grabbed the Zhaorong princess who was about to get up. "Stinky little girl, you've smashed my food and you still want to run? Quickly compensate me for my bowl." Zhaorong Junju's face was completely red. She was both embarrassed and angry. She had never felt so humiliated in her life. She had actually been so intimate with a beggar in front of everyone. Her nose was filled with the sour odor of the beggar's body, and she almost vomited. When she thought about how her wretched appearance had been seen by her cousin, the emperor, she wanted nothing more than to open a crack in the ground for her to crawl into. She lowered her head and wanted to leave the beggar's embrace as soon as possible. She didn't expect that the beggar would grab her clothes and ask her to pay for his broken bowl. Zhaorong Junju's anger rose, and she elbowed the beggar's chest. She shouted, "How dare you? Let go of me." She used a lot of strength. The beggar was just an ordinary person, so how could he withstand the impact? He spat out a mouthful of blood, and his fingers loosened weakly. Zhaorong Junju climbed up from the beggar's body in a sorry state. She felt that everyone around her was looking at her strangely. She was so embarrassed that she couldn't even raise her head. Chapter 1204. You wait for this princess. This princess will not forgive you. I will not rest until you are dead. The Zhaorong princess placed all the humiliation she had suffered today on Chen Ning's head. She raised her head and fiercely glared at Chen Ning. Then, under the laughter of the crowd, she quickly ran away. All right, little girl, I'll be waiting for you. Chen Ning smiled at her back in an uncaring manner and loudly said this. The Zhaorong princess' heart filled with even more hatred, but she did not dare look back for trouble with Chen Ning. This was because she could not wait to go back to the palace to take a bath. She wanted to wash herself clean from head to toe, washing away the stench and fleas from the beggar's body. Chen Ning's eyes flashed. She saw a gold and silver coin bag on the ground. It was dropped by the Zhaorong princess. She quickly left and did not notice it at all. Chen Ning bent down to pick it up. Using her hand to weigh it, she found that it was very heavy. It was clear that there was quite a bit of gold and silver inside. She casually threw the coin bag to the beggar and said, "Consider this as compensation for that little girl hurting you. Woo, it's the money she paid for your bowl." The beggar was surprised and happy. He held the coin bag and couldn't stop smiling. He even forgot the pain in his chest as he repeatedly thanked Chen Ning. Chen Ning shook her head and said, "You don't need to thank me. This coin bag belongs to that little girl. It's not mine." She took a step forward and said in a low voice, "The girl that fell on you is the Zhaorong princess. If you want to live, it's best if you leave the capital city. Go far away and never come back." The beggar's face instantly changed, and his body began to tremble. Mother, if he knew that girl was the princess earlier, he would not have dared to grab her clothes and ask her to pay for his bowl. He gratefully looked at Chen Ning. He stood up and grabbed the coin bag, quickly disappearing without a trace. Chen Ning was not trying to scare him. Rather, she was trying to save this beggar's life. The Zhaorong princess had thrown herself at a beggar in front of everyone, losing this kind of face. The first person she hated was herself, but she could not do anything to her. Then the second thing she needed to do was to make this beggar disappear from this world. Only then would she be able to shut everyone's mouths. With her ability to read people, her judgment of the Zhaorong princess would not be wrong. Mo Chuan's brows slightly knit. He understood the meaning behind Chen Ning's words. Thinking of the Zhaorong princess' ruthless actions and the deep hatred she had for Chen Ning, he couldn't help giving a snort. This girl that doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. I have to properly discipline her. Chen Ning revealed a smile as she looked at him. When did you have this kind of cousin? How come I didn't know about it? Mo Chuan shook his head and said, "This is a long story. Let's go back first." "Chen," he said. The two of them had originally wanted to revisit old times, but they didn't think that they would run into the matter of Zhaorong Junju. They didn't even have the mood to eat. "You want?" The two, the Zhao, the two Rong. The two said, "Shall come." Ning, the two. "Is there something else?" Chen Ning raised her brows and asked, "Two esteemed guests, please save this little one's life." With a piutong sound, the shopkeeper kneeled down in front of Mo Chuan and Chen Ning, continuously kowtowing. Chapter 1205. The so-called monk can run, but the temple can't run. The Zhaorong princess would definitely vent her anger on his restaurant in the future. So if he wanted to keep his life in the restaurant, his only hope was these two people in front of him. To be more precise, it was this mysterious black-clothed man with high martial arts skills. Mo Chuan immediately understood that the shopkeeper had already vaguely guessed his identity. He thought about it for a bit before taking a jade pendant from his waist and placing it in the shopkeeper's hand. Then he pulled Chen Ning's hand and left without saying a word. The shopkeeper looked at the jade pendant in his hand, and his face was filled with confusion, but it instantly turned into joy. He kowtowed several times to Mo Chuan's back before happily standing up. He tightly held the jade pendant like it was a treasure that fell from the heavens. When he returned to the restaurant, he was filled with confidence. With this token, even if the Zhao Rong princess brought people to smash his restaurant, he would not be afraid. Because seeing this was like seeing the emperor. When Mo Chuan and Chen Ning returned to the palace, they received a summons from Empress Dowager Zhou. She told Mo Chuan to quickly go to the Peaceful Life Palace to discuss something. The two of them did not even have time to speak before Mo Chuan changed his clothes and headed to the Peaceful Life Palace to see Empress Dowager Zhou. Mo Chuan had kept the matter of Chen Ning leaving the palace a secret. In the past few days, he had announced that the Empress was sick from the poison in her body and needed to rest, so she would not see anyone. Empress Dowager Zhou had sent Su Jin to visit the Guanyu Palace several times, but Mo Chuan had sent people to stop her at the door. So, Empress Dowager Zhou's decree did not mention Chen Ning. Your son greets mother. Mo Chuan greeted Empress Dowager Zhou according to the rules. He was wondering why Empress Dowager Zhou had suddenly summoned him. Could it be that the Zhao Rong princess came to the Peaceful Life Palace to complain to his mother? He was thinking that if Zhao Rong dared to distort the truth and throw the dirty water at Ning he would explain everything to his mother. The emperor has worked hard these past few days. This widow has made some of your favorite dishes and snacks, so I called you over to eat with mother. Empress Dowager Zhou's expression was very gentle. She held Mo Chuan's hand as she sat at the table, smiling as she called for Su Jin to serve the dishes. Mo Chuan secretly felt it was strange, but he still respectfully sat beside Empress Dowager Zhou, personally helping her serve the dishes. In this period of time, he had been busy dealing with government affairs and adding in Chu Xiaobai's illness and Empress Dowager Zhou's illness. It could be said that he was very busy. Mother, this is mother's favorite dish. You should eat a bit more. He felt very guilty and ashamed, thinking that he had to eat a good meal with Empress Dowager Zhou. Empress Dowager Zhou smiled as she ate the food he gave her and also personally gave him a jade prawn ball. Emperor, eat a bit more. Mother likes to see you eat. She lovingly looked at Mo Chuan with eyes filled with motherly love. Mo, to eat it. Mo to eat. Mo Chuan smiled and nodded. Mo Chuan liked to eat sweet things, so Empress Dowager Zhou had prepared several desserts for him, all of which were his favorites. He. This is a rose layer cake personally made by this widow. Does it taste good? Empress Dowager Zhou asked with a smile. Mother still remembers your son's favorite rose layer cake. Speaking of which, your son hasn't eaten it in several years, but the taste is still as good as before. Chapter 1206. Mo Chuan knew that Empress Dowager Zhou calling him into the palace was not as simple as eating or drinking tea. She definitely had something to say to him. Empress Dowager Zhou said with a faint smile, "It's good that you like it. Mother will make it for you often in the future." Chuan, do you remember that you weren't the only one who liked this widow's rose layer cake? Thinking back to the past, there was a little girl who was bullied by you to the point of crying over this rose layer cake. She looked at Mo Chuan with a smile. Mo Chuan raised his brows. Mother is talking about the Zhao Rong princess? Empress Dowager Zhou smiled and clapped her hand as she said, "That's right. It's hard for you to remember your cousin even though you're busy." Speaking of her Zhao Rong title, it was personally given by you and given by your mouth. 3 years ago, she was sent away by Duke Ning to learn martial arts and has now returned to the capital. You never would have thought that the skinny little girl of the past would become a beautiful girl like a flower. If you saw her, you definitely wouldn't recognize her. Mo Chuan gave a cold laugh, thinking that he really wouldn't recognize her. She had become so black-hearted and ruthless. How was she still that innocent little girl from the past? Learning martial arts? Only the heavens knew what she had learned in the past 3 years. Empress Dowager Zhou did not notice Mo Chuan's cold tone. Her face revealed a rare, happy expression as she said with a faint smile, "Zhao Rong is a girl who changes 18 times between childhood and womanhood, becoming more and more beautiful. This widow has heard that she has learned martial arts this time and has a generous personality, so this widow really likes her. You haven't seen her for 3 years. Have you thought about this cousin? She and the Zhao Rong princess mother were cousins, and the two of them were good friends before they married. Therefore, the Zhao Rong princess and Mo Chuan were blood-related cousins. Mo Chuan was older than the Zhao Rong princess by a few years. He was very mature and always had a serious look on his face. The Zhao Rong princess was the daughter of Duke Ning at an old age, so he pampered her. She was spoiled at a young age, but she had a nemesis, which was Mo Chuan. At that time, Mo Chuan wasn't the emperor, and the two families were cousins. The one Zhao Rong princess liked the most was her older cousin, following behind Mo Chuan like a little tail. When Mo Chuan practiced martial arts, she would applaud him from his side. When Mo Chuan studied, she would tilt her little head to the side and babble with him. After Mo Chuan ascended to the throne, he spent all his time on politics, so she rarely saw Mo Chuan. Only Empress Dowager Zhou liked her very much, often calling her into the palace to accompany her. Sometimes when Mo Chuan came to the Peaceful Life Palace, she would see him a few times. Because she and Mo Chuan had grown up together, so Mo Chuan treated her differently from others. He treated her like a little sister and would ask her about her situation with concern. A 13-year-old girl was already at the age where she had her first awakening of love. Zhao Rong Junju had long secretly liked this cousin. Empress Dowager Zhou and Zhao Rong Princess Mother wanted to marry the two of them, but Zhao Rong Princess was still young at that time, and Mo Chuan was focused on the country, so he didn't have time to talk about love. As for Empress Dowager Zhou's hints, he could only push them away. In the past, Empress Dowager Zhou thought he was young and tender. She thought it wouldn't be too late to arrange a marriage for the two of them after Zhao Rong's princess came of age. Chapter 12:07. Empress Dowager Zhou had Mo Chuan post an imperial notice asking for medicine for the princess. As long as someone could save the princess, they would agree to any condition. After the imperial proclamation was posted, it did attract many people who came to treat Zhao Rong Junju's illness. However, they were all Jianghu swindlers who used the excuse of treating her illness to gain benefits. In a fit of anger, Empress Dowager Zhou sent out a decree to behead all of these swindlers, so no one dared to take the imperial notice. But the princess' illness was getting worse by the day. Her mother cried all day, and Empress Dowager Zhou's heart was filled with sorrow. When everyone was filled with despair, there was a Taoist nun who came to take the notice, saying that she could cure the princess' illness. When she saw the princess, she didn't check her pulse like a doctor would. She just took a look and took out a pill, saying that as long as the princess took this pill, she would be cured immediately. How could the Duke Ning couple believe her words? They just casually gave the princess the pill. If it was a poison pill, wouldn't that be harming their beloved daughter's life? But that Taoist nun vowed that if anything happened to Zhao Rong Junju after taking the medicine, then she would have to pay with her life. The Duke Ning couple thought about it again and again. Seeing that their beloved daughter was in danger, they could only give it a try and gave the princess the pill. Who would have thought that the pill would have a miraculous effect? After the princess took the pill, she could stand up the next day, and after 3 days, she was cured. The Duke Ning couple was filled with gratitude towards the Taoist nun, taking out 1,000 gold coins as a reward. The Taoist nun did not accept it, and said that she was fated with the princess. She wanted to take her as a disciple and bring her back to the sect to teach her martial arts. The princess' parents only had this one daughter, and they loved her as much as their lives. How could they bear to let their beloved daughter go far away with a Taoist nun they had never met before? But the Taoist nun took out the imperial notice, making the two of them speechless. Helplessly, the Duke Ning couple could only let the princess become the Taoist nun's disciple and follow the Taoist nun to learn martial arts. After leaving, there was no news of them. In the second year after the princess left the capital, the Duke Ning's wife, who was Empress Dowager Zhou's cousin, became ill from missing her daughter. Duke Ning sent a large amount of people to search for his beloved daughter and the Taoist nun, but it was to no avail. The Duke Ning's wife could not see her beloved daughter, so she passed away. Before she passed away, she held Empress Dowager Zhou's hand. Although she did not say she wanted Empress Dowager Zhou to marry Mo Chuan and Zhao Rong Princess, she begged Empress Dowager Zhou for her daughter's happiness, filled her heart with sorrow. Empress Dowager Zhou was incomparably sad. She promised in front of her bed that she would take good care of Zhao Rong Princess, giving her wealth and glory, living a carefree life. This was the highest promise she could make to her bosom friend and cousin. The Duke Ning, wife, received Empress Dowager Zhou promised and passed away safely. Empress Dowager Zhou had always remembered her promise. Over the past 3 years, she had never stopped sending people to find Zhao Rong's whereabouts, but they had never found anything. Who would have thought that after Zhao Rong Princess left the capital for 3 years, she would suddenly come back? Empress Dowager Zhou's joy was not small, especially when she saw that the little girl from the past had become a beautiful young girl who had learned martial arts. She thought of her dead cousin, and while she was sad, she couldn't help thinking of something. Her son had just married, and Zhao Rong Princess had come back. The two of them had a strange combination, which made her feel regret. Chapter 1208. This was because the position of Empress Dowager Zhou was prepared to give it to the Zhao Rong Princess. Even if Empress Dowager Zhou admired Chun Ning's character and talent, when she thought of her background and how she was once Chu Xiaoyang's princess, it was like a fishbone stuck in Empress Dowager Zhou's throat, making it hard for her to eat and sleep. Mo Chuan was her own son, and in her eyes, there was no one that was worthy of him, but he had fallen for a married girl. This matter would spread to the world sooner or later, and he would become the laughingstock of the world. Although at the Empress ceremony, Mo Chuan had used the throne to block the mouths of the ministers, Empress Dowager Zhou knew that it wasn't just the ministers. Even the common people would talk about this matter after their meals. They would laugh at the emperor for marrying a broken shoe as his empress, and look down on the emperor for marrying his nephew's princess. Just thinking of this, Empress Dowager Zhou could not tolerate it. She could endure others criticizing her, but she could not stand others using a tone of disdain, ridicule, and sarcasm to criticize the emperor's son, whom she considered to be perfect and flawless. So the more she looked at Chun Ning, the more displeased she became. When she saw the Zhao Rong Princess, she knew that this was the best match for Mo Chuan. The Zhao Rong Princess had a noble background, and the two of them were childhood friends, being related by blood. Once they were married, they would be even closer. She believed that if her good friend knew that her beloved daughter had found a good husband, she would feel comforted in the underworld. She would also be able to complete her promise to her cousin, putting down a large stone in her heart. This could be considered the best of both worlds. The more Empress Dowager Zhou thought about it, the more she felt this idea was wonderful. So she sent people to guard the Guan Yu Palace, waiting for Mo Chuan to return to the palace. They would immediately send Mo Chuan to the Peaceful Life Palace and tell him this good news, as well as ask Mo Chuan's opinion. Now she had just mentioned her son and Zhao Rong's past when they were young, and her son had immediately said the Zhao Rong princess name. It could be seen that in her son's heart, Zhao Rong had not been forgotten for the past 3 years. Empress Dowager Zhou's eyes flashed with a strong look of joy. Mo Chuan thought of Shi Zhaorong's life threatening flying daggers in the restaurant and her snake-like whip, causing his heart to fill with disgust. If he hadn't made a move in time, Ning would have been injured by Zhao Rong's daggers, and she wouldn't have been alive. In the past 3 years, he had never thought about this little girl. Not then, not now. Mother, is there anything else? If there is nothing else, your son will be returning to the palace. He did not reply to Empress Dowager Zhou's words because he could see that Empress Dowager Zhou's unspoken meaning was to bring him and Zhao Rong Princess together. Empress Dowager Zhou couldn't help opening her mouth, but before she could say anything, Mo Chuan then said, "Mother, your son has sent people to invite the #1 divine doctor in the world to personally treat Ning-Er. Ning-Er's body is now fine." Empress Dowager Li Zhou was. Dowager Zhou was. Dowager Chun. Dowager Chun Ishao Chun. Rong Ning. He Ning Zhao, he and Chun, he Dowager, he and Chong Ning Zhao Chun, King, you want it? Empress Dowager Zhou revealed a sincere smile this time. She couldn't help standing up from her chair and grabbing Mo Chuan's hand. "If we invite the #1 divine doctor in the world, Xiao Bai can be saved." You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.